rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo. Set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flaws, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up, really gon' rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Hi, Bullhorn Betty. Thank you for my shirt. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Kids Club.
Summer Wells went missing on June 15th, 2021. She disappeared from her home at 110 Ben Hill Road in Hawkins County. On her 2-year milestone, we placed this banner on the side of the road. Since she went missing, she hasn't been heard or seen from again. While I was visiting the area, I saw Don Wells working on his truck and asked him if he'd come down and speak to me, which he did. Don Wells and I had a conversation about his daughter Summer Wells and information related to her disappearance. Don Wells maintains that somebody came on the property and took his daughter away. He still believes after all this time she has been abducted. His family came under heavy scrutiny, but they maintained their innocence. One thing Don Wells told me is that they have no new leads into anybody that could have been responsible or is responsible for the disappearance of his daughter Summer Wells. Many people across this country want to know what happened to Summer Wells. Where is Summer? If you have any information related to the disappearance of Summer Wells, you are asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND.
Hey guys, Bullhorn Betty here. So there's something going on in my community and I need your help with. So this is a double homicide that happened in my community, but there's a lot more to this case than meets the eye. This is Thomas Matajek. He actually killed his mother and her boyfriend recently, but the problem here is he shouldn't even have been out of jail. He should have been in a mental hospital, and he is deemed incompetent to stand trial. This right here is our state attorney, and his name is Ed Brodsky. He has been our state attorney in the 12th District for some time. I recently learned our law enforcement officer, Sheriff Rick Wells, has arrested this guy many times and has prepared a case and sent that over to the state prosecutor. Ed Brodsky was supposed to litigate the matter. However, he ended up taking the felony case, reducing it to a misdemeanor, sending it to a misdemeanor court, and then just a month ago sent this deranged mental patient to a halfway house where he escaped and killed his mother. How can you help Bullhorn Betty? You can help Bullhorn Betty by saying, we will not accept this. This is unacceptable. Our law enforcement does their job and they send it over to the prosecutors just to let them go. Now, 2 people in my own backyard have lost their life because of these horrible and poor decisions at the hand of the state prosecutor, not law enforcement. So please, I ask you, is this going to be acceptable in your community as well? This is how you can help. If this case bothers you, if it disgusts you, if you realize 2 people should not be laying in the morgue right now, please consider giving Ed Brodsky a call and letting him know this is unacceptable from any state prosecutor. Learning today that 2 have been arrested in connection with the triple homicide out in San Antonio, Texas. This is the case of Savannah Soto, Matthew Guerrera, and their unborn child, baby Fabian. They were gunned down and dumped at an apartment complex and were located on December 26th.
It was a heinous act. It was unspeakable, the tragedy of it. When we talk about the manner of death has not been determined, the manner meaning, was it a suicide or was it a murder?
You said that ME said that for Matthew Guerra it was a gunshot wound to the head, but when we called them, they said it's a contact gunshot wound. What does that mean?
It means that it was there.
However, with new evidence and new information coming forward, we have learned that they died on the 21st in early morning hours leading into the 22nd. It was right before midnight when the car was dumped in that video that you just saw. What we've learned since then is that this is potentially a drug deal that has gone wrong. This is a robbery homicide because everything happened from execution to dumping the car in less than 10 minutes, according to the affidavit. Let me know what your thoughts are. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe here on TikTok to Bullhorn Betty. And don't forget, I have another channel. It is on YouTube. Please consider going over to Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories to get the latest and greatest on the up-to-date true crime news.
Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
Well, good morning, my crazy people that are up entirely too early on a Saturday morning. Good morning, YouTube and beautiful X. It's nice to see you this Saturday morning. I would say beautiful Saturday morning, which I did, but I have to be honest with you. It's kind of crummy here where Bullhorn Betty resides. Okay, I wake up, it's thundering, it's storming. So for best practices, if for any reason, this is Florida, lightning capital of the world, right? So if for any reason we go down, just stick with us. We will be back up very shortly thereafter. I hope everybody's doing wonderful this wonderful Saturday morning. That's awfully rainy here. I hope you guys can hear me. I'm trying to adjust the volume a little bit on all the equipment I'm listening to, and I'm trying to tamper it down. If it's too high, turn your volume down. If it's too low, turn your volume up. Good morning, our beautiful Sonia, our resident custom creations lady. Lady. She does some great work. If you guys have not, we got Valentine's Day coming up, right? You want to tell your significant other or your Valentine how much they mean? Reach out to Sonia. I'm sure she can come up with something super clever, super special for your Valentine this year. Reach out to her, get those shirts, get those cups, get those caps, get those custom items. You want a keychain? You want to memorialize something? Sonia's who you need to call. Sonia's who you need to call. We have a new member, a true crime knitter. It's nice to see you. You know what? I have to believe that you knit. Just call me crazy. Call me crazy, okay? I know they. It's a double-edged sword, right? Too early for that joke. But I have to think that you know how to knit. I don't know what gives me that wild impression that you may know how to knit. But you're going to have to show me. You're going to have to show me some things. I have to tell you, I love true crime and I love learning new things. And I don't know how to knit. I don't know how to knit. It's nice to see you. Lutines, I hope I'm saying your name right. Like every time I come on here, you got to say you're saying it wrong or you're saying it right because it drives me nuts. I have to know, because my name's Andra, right? And a lot of people, I love being called Betty now. Nobody can screw up Betty, right? When I'm Andra, I'm Andra, Andrea, Angela. I'm like, anything that has an A in it, my head just turns. I just naturally turn my head because nobody says my name right? It's Andra. It's like Sandra without the S. So it's funny. And so I because of that, I love saying, even though my hooked on phonics is broken, I love saying people's name correctly. I just feel like, everybody does. It's just one of those things, right? Our beautiful sweet Misery. Good morning, sweet Misery. I hope you are doing very, very well. Sweet Misery, True Crimes. We've collabed on some Turtle Boy stuff. If you guys are hearing about the Karen Reed case and everything like that, Turtle Boy's in jail. I'm hearing Karen Reed's like, I don't even know what to say right now. You know what I'm saying? Because we kind of expected Karen Reed dancing out of the cells together. And I don't know if this is true. I'm not following the Karen Reed case. Don't beat Bullhorn Betty up this beautiful Saturday, this rainy Saturday morning. Right? I heard she's out of jail. Now, call me crazy. If that's true, that's got to be some karma for you, baby. That's got to be some karma for you. Ashley, you know what? I'm just saying, you got to know when to cheer. Have yourself a cocktail. If this is a true story, Ashley, you deserve a cocktail. And so does every other victim of Turtle Boys. Now, I don't think that Turtle Boy's avocation is, for causes is wrong. Okay. I just want to be very clear. The behavior he's been exhibiting that we're finding out that he has exhibited and is past behavior. So, this is his behavior is something that I don't like. Avocation for a cause, being out there, showing the signs, showing the support, even being loud. You guys know me. I'm all for that kind of conduct. I just think I thought that this case was just like maybe he got a little caught up in the case. You know what I'm saying? Like it does happen. We didn't know of him too much. Obviously other people were following him. He's, he does have a following. So don't misunderstand me. But when it comes to like the turtle, I thought that he just kind of got caught up in the emotion and the passion of the cause. It happens. I promise you, it seriously just does happen. And so whenever I started looking into this and we realized there's other victims and I started hearing this, then I'm like, this is his behavior. This is his pattern of behavior. Now we're kind of like, I thought that's why I was so quiet. But the girl, listening to that girl cry, there's only so much that, I tolerate a lot. It's not like it's my business. It's not like I'm being brought in, but there's some times that I have to utilize my platform to stand on a cause. And when I heard that lady crying, it broke my heart. And there is no way that I'm not going to say something, especially in light of 16 other indictments. And then this, it was just too much. And then it led us to Ashley, which is a beautiful, transparent, that just wants to have a relationship with their children. And just this had nothing to do with saving his children or anything. And he ended up having to stay in jail for a night or whatever it was. But it's still a horrific event and something that somebody should not have to go through, especially over a petty beef. It wasn't even over crimes or anything. It was over stupidity. And a creator wanting to show he could do it. He can put you in your place. And I just can't support something like that. So if you want to hear the interviews about that, go over to Sweet Misery. We collaborated on her channel. She's got a lot of great information and great evidence to support those. Real Me Too, it's nice to see you. She worked around the clock for us to get Savannah Soto information. And, we talked. She came up. She presented everything. She was mostly right. I got to be honest with you. She had a lot of details accurate and correct. There was a lot of details we all kind of just assumed, or several of them that we just assumed because of the lack of information. Either way, it's nice to see you. Good morning, Mama T, Manic Mama T, Angie. It's nice to see you, TL, Emma M, Jules, Katrina. It's nice to see you, TL. Paralegal Liz is up in the house. Darcy, JB's mama. Big Mac Mike is in the house. I have to tell you, Big Mac Mike shocked me. For our resident defense attorney, he was just kind of he's ready to DP both father and son. It was a little shocking, but we're not at the trial yet. Not at the trial yet. Remember, Mike was gun-ho about Alec Murdaugh until he got up on that stand and started and turned on those waterworks and that snot faucet. And boy, hook, line, and sinker. Mike was a winner chicken dinner. Changed sides and all of a sudden he couldn't do it. He couldn't possibly do it. I love you, Mike. It's great. Nice to see you. Melinda, it's nice to see you as well. I think we got Nani's in the house. Good morning, Nani. It's nice to see you. I think we're getting kind of close to the end. Oh, thank you, Darcy. That's so sweet. God bless you for that. God bless you. Sweetie Pie, good morning. Who else do we have? Tetsy. Well, it's nice to see you, love bug. Been a little minute. Mel C, good morning. Brown Eyes, good morning, love. Snow's coming in today. It's something's going on. When Florida starts getting cold and rainy, which we've kind of been cold, it was crazy because when I was coming on last night, which I wasn't going to do, but I really did want to just get some things out there because we have so many cases going on right now. When I dive into like Savannah Soto, where it takes literally everything, all these other cases go by the wayside. So I'm trying to implement some information in for them. And it's been a little bit difficult. Burning the candle at both ends over here. You know what I'm saying? Cool gamer. It's nice to see you, love. Good morning, Gigi for life. Good morning. Who else do we have? I think I got everybody. We have Rapper in the house. Good morning, Rapper. It's been nice to see you. You've been awfully nice lately. You're gonna have to come over here. I'm gonna have to take your temperature. I have to be honest with you. Are you feeling okay today? Are you feeling okay? I'm still waiting for that shoe to drop. I won't lie. Mr. Pookie's Grammy. Oh, that's cute. That's so cute. Good morning. Southern Grammy Wolf in the house. Oh, gave us a beautiful update. It's so nice to hear that she's doing so well. I'm so proud of you. I really am. I'm going to give you a Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club cheer. This is the one that lasts for a little minute. You deserve it. see you. Ashley's World up in the house. Good morning. I was laughing so much. I went teary-eyed. Oh my gosh. So Rapper, good morning. Good morning. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Pokey Grammy. It's nice to see you. Nice to see you. Oh, nice. It's so sweet, Shannon. Good morning, love. Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to see you. Oh, and another one. If you received your Bullhorn Betty gifted membership, please don't forget to tell Shannon thank you. Thank you, Shannon. And good morning, by the way. All right, I think we're through everything. So before we get, as I told you guys last night, this is going to be a long haul one, you know. I'm going to be dropping a video during this, probably about an hour and a half. And don't worry, it's the preview of the Savannah Soto video that you guys got to see. I debuted it on here before I dropped it. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It was debuted on TikTok, and then it was dropped here this morning in a different format and a different music. And then it's going to be dropped later while we're doing the Alec Murdaugh for the other people that aren't interested in Alec Murdaugh and want some additional information on Soto. We're probably going to, if depending on the day, you know, I'm kind of I'm today's kind of getting caught up on all the news today. So this is going to be kind of a long haul for us. I'm probably going to have to get up during some of this to get some coffee and what have you. And I know that you guys are going to as well. So I'll try to find some meaningful stopping points so we don't miss anything. But this is going to be a long journey, a long journey to where we are, because this is Alec Murdaugh's, son, Buster. He's the only other surviving relative of Alec Murdaugh, because he wasn't at the home at the time. And many people have speculated on that. If you guys are familiar or not familiar with Alec Murdaugh was an attorney that was in South Carolina. He comes from a long line of, political people. His family was the solicitor. The Murdaugh family held the solicitor in Low Country for almost 100 years. They are literally in our U.S. history books because they are the longest holding family in our history, not just South Carolina history, in USA history too. So you're talking about a name that has prestige, has power, all the things that you expect, you know, and I'm sure a lot of favors came to the Murdaugh family, all of them, just simply by having the Murdaugh name. And so there was a lot of things that were going on in and around this life that many were unaware of, and that had been going on for years and years. And that is financial crimes that Alec Murdaugh had committed. In 2015, a boy by the name of Stephen Smith was ran over in the middle of the road. At least that's what everybody was told to believe. His mother didn't believe it. His mother believed that this was a hate crime or something. His body injuries were not consistent with one that got hit by a car. The body has since been exhumed. So before I go down this diatribe of everything, it does appear that a something on a vehicle actually hit Stephen Smith, whether it be a bucket, like a paint bucket, whether it be a mirror, but it wasn't the physical vehicle itself, and why he didn't exhibit like he had been hit by a car, because it appears that maybe something that was protruding off the car, like a mirror or a bucket or something, is what may have cracked his head, and he died right where he lay. That's where he was hit. That's where he died. That's where they found him. That was all determined later. And why am I talking about this case that seemingly has no connection to the Murdaughs? Well, the Murdaughs interjected themselves, according to the family, into this case. And nobody was the wiser of this, because this was back in 2015. And so it was just speculative. In 2018, the not living in housekeeper, but it's the housekeeper that they've had before the boys were born. She helped raise both Paul and Buster. She was like a relative in their family, and that's how the kids looked at her. She took a tumble at the Moselle property and she died. Well, Alec ended up suing himself, concocting the scheme with Gloria's children, which wouldn't be none the wiser. They don't, he was able to easily manipulate them, is I guess is the easiest way to say it. Well, he ended up getting a multi-million-dollar settlement on their behalf through this scheme that was concocted between him and another attorney, and they ended up robbing those kids of that money. Again, nobody knows at this time that this is all happening. It doesn't really come to light in the Murdaugh case until his son Paul has a deadly boating accident when he leaves a Buford bar with his friends on a boat. He's insistent on driving. There has been descriptions of what happened on that boat before they ever pulled out. Paul was extremely and highly intoxicated. He slapped his girlfriend. He was arguing with people. People were wanting to drive the boat. He would not let them. And then he ends up hitting it into a piling for a bridge. Mallory Beach is, she exits the boat. A few other of the individuals and occupants of that boat go overboard. Some have some major hand and facial lacerations, but do not die. They could not find Mallory. Mallory wasn't discovered, I don't believe, for over 24 hours, if I recall correctly. I believe it might have been even a couple days. I really don't remember the fine details of her being found. If it's important to you, you may, obviously Google has that information. Go ahead and look it up. For this, it's not really that important. But she died. And so her family got an attorney, Attorney Tinsley, and he started going after Alec Murdaugh. And Alec Murdaugh was just about to have to turn over his financial information, which would have uncovered him setting up a secret account, a forgery account by the name of Forge, which happens to be like an annuity type of company that deals with conservatorships and, monies. So he's been transferring all this money into his phony Forge account. All of this was just about to become known to the public, or would have been known to the public, or perceived to have been known, at least to Alex, to the public, because he's going to have to turn this over. And then boom, all of a sudden he has a massive murder at his house where somebody came on his property and executed his wife and son. He said he was never at the dog kennels, yada, yada, yada. We go to trial. He is found guilty of their murders because, and a lot of people stated that Alec Murdaugh did not prove that he they didn't prove their case, is what people say. I believe they did. 12 jurors believe they did. Those are the only people that matter. There are some things going on with the Alec Murdaugh case as we're covering, with the new trial. We're going to be going out there on January 29th to cover the new trial stuff. But at the end of the day, he was found guilty of these crimes. And we're still curious what was really said. We heard Alex multiple police interrogations that were released to the public, but we never really heard what Buster said. The only thing that we really got from Buster was the Martha McCallum interview. And I'm going to play that for you real quick, or at least a portion of this particular interview. Give me just a second. It's going to want to. Okay, there it is. So we'll go to this, and then we'll get started on the interviews.
Are you fearful for your life if you believe the killer is out there?
Absolutely.
State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant. Indictment for murder.
Good morning.
You lied,
Nice to
Agent
see
Owen.
you.
Agent Croft.
I did lie to them.
MJ, good morning.
Verdict.
So this is a weird phenomenon that I'm seeing with Buster. Is he completely in denial? Or does he truly believe that somebody's out there? I'm sorry, but I'm not convinced. Check this out.
Are you fearful for your life if you believe the killer is out there?
Absolutely. I think that I've set myself up to be safe. But yes, when I go to bed at night, I have a fear that there is somebody else still out there.
Docket number 2022 GS 15-00592, the State of South Carolina, County of Colleton, in the Court of General Sessions in the term of 2022, July, the State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, guilty, verdict.
Is that you on the kennel video at 8:44 p.m. on June 7th, the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
It is.
Were you, in fact, at the kennels at 8:44 p.m. on the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
I was.
Did you lie to SLED Agent Owen and Deputy Laura Rutland on the night of June 7th and told them that you stayed at the house after dinner?
I did lie to them.
Did you lie to Agent Owen and Agent Croft on the follow-up interview on June 10th that the last time you saw Maggie and Paul was at dinner?
I did lie to them.
And in the interview of August 11th, did you tell Agent Owen and Agent Croft, did you lie to them by telling them that you were not down at the kennels on that night?
Yes.
Guilty, verdict.
I want to personally thank you for watching this video. All right, so that's kind of what, Buster had said. He doesn't believe that his father is capable of carrying out this heinous act against his mother and brother. I don't know anybody that was raised the way he was raised that, even I don't believe either one of my parents could possibly be capable of carrying out such a heinous act. I don't know of any parent or any child that wants to believe that of their parents. So naturally, I understand that Buster would not want to believe that his father did this, but he acknowledged his father being potentially a psychopath. So, I mean, what did he say? What did Buster say when he was being interviewed for this case? I mean, his mother was just gunned down. His brother was just gunned down. His father's out there all by himself saying that, hey, I didn't do anything, that I wasn't out here. I don't know what happened. So now it's time to hear what Buster has to say. This is stuff that has just been recently released from Law and Crime. This is something that I believe is new to the world. I have not seen this yet. I waited to see this so we can get raw reaction and emotion. I think I listened to the first 10 minutes and I stopped, and I wanted to see it all with you for the first time. So that's what we're going to do this morning. We're going to watch this together. My foot fell asleep. That I sit back here, cross my legs. So every time you see this thing start moving like that, it's because I'm moving around here because my legs fall asleep too. I have to be honest with you. Bye, you babe. It's nice to see you. Good morning. Good morning, love. Shoot, you know what? We're already on this roll. I forgot to read the language of letting go. So what we'll do is we will go ahead and roll the beautiful bean footage here since we're already in motion. And then we'll, at a breaking point when we just need a little bit of a break, maybe we'll go and energize ourselves with the message from the language of letting go. I do want to read the language of letting go before we all. Matilda, it's nice to see you. I want to read the language of letting go, so don't let me leave without reading it this morning. Don't let me leave without reading it this morning. Okay, guys, we're gonna, without further ado. First thing I noticed is that he marked, did you notice that? The first thing I noticed about this is he looks directly at the camera. He knows he's being recorded. He has now put in his mind that he's being recorded. He's going to Columbia, so he's already, putting on the lawyering hat that he's been taught his whole life. So They said Alien, not Aileen, and she's harassing our Jules. I don't think Aileen is harassing our Jules. I don't know what Jules you're talking about, but Jules is in our chat here, our Jules. And she knows that she, well, one, I believe she can handle herself. But secondly, if she had any problems, she knows she can come to me. So hopefully not. They'll just to inform everybody, we already have 120 people in the chat. Just to inform everybody of the rules, please be respectful. You're allowed to have your opinions. Mean what you say what you mean, but you don't have to say it mean. Some of these topics we're highly emotional about it. So we all need to remember that we're highly emotional about it. And when we start feeling ourselves getting hot under the collar about something, maybe take a deep breath and reread your comment before you post so it doesn't offend somebody else. Just be cognizant of that. And literally the only rule of the chat, we have one, and it's don't be a Richard. And if you don't know what that means, it's don't be a dick. Okay. Don't be a dick. That's it. Okay, good. Good. Pete, it's nice to see you. So hopefully you guys have fun in the chat. Enjoy the conversation while we watch this. I'm going to call it an interrogation because I truly believe that's what it is. I mean, it's a witness interrogation, but it's an interrogation to a double homicide. So that's what we're going to claim it to be.
Okay, maybe nervous, jot some notes a little bit. Yep, I might be taking one. So, as I thought, we're going to record this obviously, but I could probably see me jot some notes down here just for later.
Yes, I did, Boogie. We'll talk about that.
Probably. What you're getting?
I don't. I'm not sure if I believe it to be true just yet.
This is Katie McAllister, and I want to start out here.
Can you guys hear it good?
I am extremely sorry for what has happened to your mother and to your brother. Okay, and I know that it's not easy to sit here and talk to a stranger about this kind of stuff. It's my hope that we can do it, get this part behind us, and move on to trying to find out and try to make the situation as good as we can make it for a terrible situation we're dealing with. Yes, sir. For that, I am gonna have to ask a lot of questions. You got your attorney here with you, and I'm sure he'll pipe up if ever he needs to. I'll expect him to.
Wow. Buster is being questioned with an attorney, his attorney present. I didn't know that. It's sweet Melissa. It's nice to see you. Good morning, love. I hope you're having a great new year. So I'm already interested. That's already got me my curiosity perked. I don't know, even with me being the legal professional that, I once was. Yeah, let's face it, I'm not in a law office anymore. So, even me, and I believe in bringing attorneys in, especially if you're not guilty of a crime, bring an attorney in at any point, it's in criminal homicide cases, because if you're a person that's in and around a person that's murdered, let me tell you, you're a person of interest, period. Anybody that's within an arm's length of this is an immediate person of interest. They have to clear everybody around that person, including family and friends. So it's a little, I just don't know if my mom and my sister were gunned down. I don't know if my first thought is to call an attorney before I'm questioned. Even the way I am now, where I have friends that are attorneys. I've got, I've worked for attorneys, all this other stuff. So in all fairness, it's just an odd thing. And I just wanted to notate that.
But for you, what I want you to understand is, your family is in some ways no different than mine, no different than Katie's. We have our good, we have our bad. What makes your family maybe a little bit different is that your family is very well known and other things associated with that. And because of that, people talk, people put rumors out there, people make things up if they don't have anything to talk about. But once these things kind of get out there, when we're doing a full investigation, we kind of need to do what we can to say we've asked those questions, we've addressed them, and we've dealt with them. Yes, sir. So
okay, now one last thing. I'm going to let this roll. I'm going to let it roll, but there's just one last thing. This is why it's so important. Okay, you just heard what that officer said about the rumors and stuff like that. This is why it is so important, and this is a perfect segue into this conversation. Why I tell you guys, don't be calling in tips just because you feel it. Okay, just because you feel you have good information that might be beneficial, you might have good information, but what happens is you create a problem for law enforcement, because when they're in an investigation, every time a tip is called in, whether it holds water or not, they have to investigate that. They're required to. So if you're not a person that has firsthand information, has evidence for, or knows somebody that does, then you really are. I understand we all try to help, and so I'm not beating anybody up for this at all by any stretch of the imagination. But we as a group, we know we're true crime junkies. We know we're here to try to help, but we're here to try to help visually. We're here to bring awareness visually. And so if we have good information that is relevant and is true, hard, cold evidence, then yes, I'm never going to tell you not to turn it in. I'd rather take an ounce of prevention than a pound of cure. If you don't know, I say, even with me saying don't call it in, but if you don't know, it's just one of those things. But I really want to caution everybody here that if you do not have actual physical obtainable evidence, okay, you don't know anybody with firsthand knowledge of the information, and you're going off second, third, or fourth hand knowledge, the information you have is not, it really isn't going to do them any good anyways. So they have to have evidence and firsthand knowledge. That's the most important. So I just wanted to explain, not that anybody's doing anything wrong. If you call in tips, when they're asking for tips to be called in, that's what they want to happen. But I just want to caution you to make sure that the tips are legitimate tips, because you could be creating a whole additional work for these people when we're really trying to help and reduce the work that they have to do. So I just want people to be cognizant of that. That's literally it.
I asked God to you today, Buster, is and you don't mind me calling you Buster?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Is just try to be as honest and forthcoming as you can on all this, okay?
No problem.
Can I just start? We'll start out with an easy one here. Can I get your full proper name?
Yeah, Richard Alexander.
While they're doing this, I'm going to ask, is the volume okay on this audio for everybody?
And your date of birth, sir? And where are you currently living now?
Sweet, I'm just pausing this just for a second. Sweet Misery, if you have questions, put them down in the chat, and I'll try to star them. And when we get an opportunity to stop, I'll, if I miss one, I might miss one, because the chat. I listen to this and I listen intently, and then I forget to look at the chat. It's my fault. I know I try to do the best I can. But if you do have questions, put them in the chat, and I'll try to grab them and star them. And when we have an opportunity to stop, maybe we'll go to the questions and answer them the best we can. And if we don't know the answer, maybe we'll try to do a little bit of research to find the answer. And if we can't find the answer, then you'll have to do your own additional research on it. But we can see what we can do. We're just trying to get some clarification. Box of Shameless, it's nice to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right, so I'm going to get myself another cup of coffee. So I'm going to mute myself on this end, but I'm going to play it on my phone so I don't miss anything, okay?
It is.
It's a good phone number for you.
My cell phone.
Do you have any other cells, or is that?
No, sir. Only line I got.
Gotcha. Are you going to school now, or?
Not right now. I'm in a 6-month job for Wild Wing Cafe.
Okay.
So I do a lot of traveling throughout the week.
So you're working like for corporate?
Yes, sir.
Wild Wing Cafe. How long have you been living in Columbia?
Been living in Columbia since 2018.
You got roommates at that apartment?
Do not.
You live by yourself?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you primarily work Wild Wings traveling corporate?
Yes, sir.
Any other jobs? Is that the only one?
Only one.
Okay. Are you up there? Are you up there all the time, or do you split time between there and here, or
split time between? Most recently, I've been splitting time between there and my girlfriend's house.
Okay.
Because the Wild Wing office is in Charlotte, so it's a 20-minute drive for me to get to work from her house.
What's your girlfriend's name?
Brooklyn White.
White?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is she of the White family up there? If you're familiar with the White House and all that,
No.
That was a big name up there. Okay. Where does Brooklyn live?
I don't know her house number. It's on a street.
Does she live by herself or with her family, or?
Her mom lives there, and she just recently moved out of a house there now, and is in the future moving to.
So I'm sorry, Brooklyn moved out of her mother.
No, Brooklyn and her mother have been living at her mother's house, and Brooklyn just moved out of a house that she had with a couple of roommates in because she finished school.
I got you. Okay. Did y'all meet in school?
We did.
Okay. You know Brooklyn's phone number offhand?
No, sir, I don't. Probably should.
You know, I didn't know my wife's for the longest time because nowadays nobody remembers numbers. You used to have to remember numbers, obviously, so you go to any phone. Now you just plug it in, you forget. I've never told her that. Okay. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about just the house out there on Moselle.
Yes, sir.
When was the last time that you stayed out there for?
All right, guys. So I'm back. I got my coffee, and now this is kind of where the interview is starting. Just to let you know that when it comes to Buster, I like that they redacted a lot of information. They didn't redact this much information with Alec Murdaugh, and they had date of births, phone numbers, and everything read. They had 2 crimes to make disappear. I must have just walked into a conversation, or it might be part of your questions. I need to go up here because I just stepped away. Hold on a second. Let me just grab your questions. All right, guys. So this is where we want to start paying attention. We know what Alec has said. We know what happened at the trial. Now we need to compare what Buster said here in this interview compared to what he said on the stand for his father. So now they're going to start getting into it. They had 5 minutes of kind of breaking down the walls, explaining why they're there, and letting them know that they need to speak to him.
For any length of time?
Would have been.
If ever.
Would have been turkey season. Was out there during turkey season, so March, early April was when I was staying out there more often.
March, early April this year. When you stay out there at Moselle, where do you stay? Where do you lay your head at?
I stay in my room.
And that's in the main house?
It is.
And if I'm in the main house, how do I get to your room?
If you walk through the front door of the main house, there's a staircase to your left.
Mm-hmm.
Staircase goes up onto a raised up banister, and there's a room to the right and a room to the left. And my room is the one to the right.
How about Paul's room? Is
the one to the left?
Is the one to the left?
I turned up the volume. Hopefully that helps.
There, or that's just the last time you've been up there for any kind of longer stay? Have you been?
No, I've swung through multiple times. I've been having to grab things from Moselle, clothes and whatnot. I can't remember the last time I spent the night in Moselle. Usually when it gets hotter, I tend to fluctuate more to the beach more.
Right.
But turkey season would have been the last time that I've stayed, multiple nights in a row.
Okay. So, I mean, you may not be able to remember the exact date. Can you remember about when the last time you spent a night in Moselle was? Was it in the last month, last couple of weeks? I mean,
let's see, it's June now.
Yes. June 10th.
So this is June 10th. Just to let you know what date it is. June 10th is when this interview was conducted. Again, this is Buster Murdaugh, the surviving child of both Alec and Maggie, and his brother Paul and his mother were the ones that were gunned down. This is Buster. This is Alec Murdaugh's oldest son, and he was the only surviving family member outside of Alec.
I really can't remember. It's been a decent amount of time, weeks, maybe even a month.
And so, Buster, as you're getting back and forth from place to place here, you have a dedicated vehicle you get around in?
Yes, sir.
What year is it? What color is it?
It's
You've had that vehicle since it was new? Or?
Yes, sir. Since it was new.
Is that the only vehicle you've had?
No, I also have.
Time, or?
Well, it's the one after I had a truck before I got that car. But,
okay. But since then, has that been your primary way of getting around?
Yes.
Any other ways or any other cars? Or?
Nope.
I believe so, Tippy Toe, because this was June. What did I just say? June 9th or June 10th?
Okay. So, I guess let's go ahead and kind of get at least close to the incident we're talking about here, obviously. And I may have to digress back and forth. I'm sorry, it's just the way my brain works.
No problem.
And we're just meeting for the first time, so something might occur to me. When was the last time that you recall speaking to your mother?
I spoke to my mom I spoke to her a couple times, like Monday afternoon, around probably the 4 to 5 hour range. Okay. And then probably a couple times. We speak usually 2-3 times a day.
And that was by phone?
Yes, sir. My cell phone.
So I guess, and backing up a little bit, here we go right off the bat here. Actually, let me back up just a little bit more than that. You talked about spending some time down at Edisto. Y'all have a house on Edisto?
Yes, sir.
Where is that located at? And that's the one down near, kind of near the marina, right?
Yeah. So
side road out there.
Is where our house is.
What was that number again? Okay. Have you stayed down in Edisto anytime recently?
Yes.
When was the last time you stayed there?
Was there Memorial Day weekend? Would be the last recent time.
Okay. Were you there? Talking about Memorial Day weekend, did you come down what day? Friday, Thursday? Or
no, I was there. I was there probably Wednesday.
Okay, so are y'all burning up back there?
We're cool. Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, we've got the vents open.
Let me get the it might help if I actually had the ring.
There you go. There's the money shot.
Oh my gosh. He said that. So Buster is sweating. That's nervousness. He's sweating. He's wiping his head. Holy crap. Holy crap. That, I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that. I don't know what I think about that. Because it could be a couple things, right? It could just be that this is, anxiety from the situation. I mean, he did just lose his mother and his brother. This could be because he's not telling the truth and he's trying to think he's under the gun. He's under pressure. It could be a multiple things, but he's sweating, and it seems like everybody else in the car seems to be comfortable because they said, "Hey, are you guys?" And no, we're fine. We got the vents back here going and everything. He's wiping the sweat. Interesting. Not, I gotta say, he's a young kid. He just lost his brother and his mother. Okay, so we also have to take that into serious consideration in this. But I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel. So we'll Why is there interviews always in the car? Because it's rural. They probably don't have office buildings out there. That's probably why all their vehicles are souped up with cameras. This is why why we have to have cameras in the cars, because they have to interrogate. They've got to interrogate. Out there, that's what people don't understand. You probably live in a more populated area. Out there at where that Moselle property is, their Moselle property is there. It's a large property. There's not too many neighbors around them. There's neighbors down the road, but it's a significant hike down the road to get to any neighbor near them. There's not a neighbor across the street, and I think that that's important, because people are saying, well, how did the neighbors hear? There's no neighbors. The two houses on the front of the house are their hunting cabins. They're not lived in by other people. They were Murdaugh property. So, I think that's probably why, potentially. I don't know that to be the facts. That's just my assumption.
It's usually so full of junk, I don't have to worry about it. So. All right, so you there probably Wednesday before then, and stayed until Memorial Day or past Memorial Day?
I stayed until Sunday. Left on Sunday and went to Columbia.
I gotta listen to that again. I gotta listen to that again. I thought he just said that he didn't stay. He was out at the property, but he hasn't been out there for months. We'll just keep going. We'll have to go back to it. We're going to watch this several times, because this is not going to be the first time.
She was not there for Memorial Day next year.
Okay. So who all was at the house during Memorial Day?
My mom, my dad, my brother, and staying with us were 3 of my brother's friends.
Interesting.
You remember who those people were?
I do. One boy was.
I don't like that they redacted their names. They could have kept the first names.
Yes.
Okay.
The other person was. Yes, sir. And the other person was.
So we have 3 friends that stayed there Memorial Weekend with Paul. Hey, Pink, it's nice to see you. Miss Lee, Mama 3, good morning.
Yes.
Sticking out of space.
There pretty much the whole time, or did people come in and out, or?
We were there the whole time. Like my mom, my dad, and I were there, and obviously we had friends fluctuate in and out, come hang out, stuff like that.
Okay. Beach houses were like that. All right. Pretty good trip. Any problems, no issues went on
No, sir,
down
just
there?
Just a good weekend.
Okay. And you stayed there periodically times before that. I think you alluded to that.
Yes, sir.
You tend to go there more often than you go back to Moselle.
Yes, sir. I've been spending the.
So were they talking about, because they're saying that he stays there? What was the other house she had? They had the Moselle property, and which one did the mom like staying at? They had a name for that, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Do you guys remember? I know somebody in here remembers. Oh, well, happy birthday, Pink Bow. Happy birthday. What was it? Why can't I remember the name of it? Edisto property. So he must be discussing the Edisto property here, because he's talking about being there. So he's told them that he hasn't been at the Moselle property, has stayed the night at the Moselle property for several months, or a month or so, or whatever he had just said. So he's referring to the Edisto property.
Majority of my weekends there, since the weather was getting warmer and whatnot.
Now, going back to the days when you worked at Moselle, or I'm sorry, when you lived at Moselle, did you ever do much as far as work on the property or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I try to help out with what I could.
And when you were working out there on that property, did y'all ever have any problems with things like theft or strangers walking up, people hunting where they shouldn't have been? And people do. I mean, was that ever anything you can remember?
As far as people hunting, we've had a tremendous issue with a group of
Let's look at this, because I just saw something. I want you to watch his body language as he's being asked this question. We're going to go back. I wasn't going to do this. I probably should have done this before. Let's go. I want you guys, let's listen to this. Let's watch this again.
Now, going back to the days when you worked at when you lived at Moselle, did you ever do much as far as work on the property or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I try to help out with what I could.
And when you were working out there on that property, did y'all ever have any problems with things like theft or strangers walking up, people?
Look at that. Look at that. He's saying no. His body language is saying no to the answer. They're asking him but then all of a sudden he's realizing this is an opportunity to say something. His head was shaking no. He was saying no, and then he started saying, "Oh, you can see almost the light bulb go off of his head." That this is an opportunity to segue into something else, because look at what he's saying. Let's watch it again. Okay, there.
And when you were working out there on that property, did y'all ever have any problems with things like theft or strangers walking up, people hunting where they shouldn't have been?
No.
Yeah, people do. I mean, was that ever anything you can remember?
As far as people hunting, we've had a tremendous issue with a group of dog hunters, and so they would always, release their dogs. They would run on our property and stuff like that. But other than that,
did it ever get like confrontational or anything with any of these people over the years that you were aware of or anything? I mean,
nothing crazy. Just telling people like hey, keep your dogs off the property.
How about things going missing, things getting stolen?
Never had a problem with that. Never have noticed anything stolen. Never reported anything stolen.
Let's talk about maybe people that you might remember who would have worked on the property and stuff like that. I understand. Do you know the current? I assume he's current. The current groundskeeper that's out there now.
I do. I've met him.
Now, if you guys know about the current groundskeeper, just let me give you guys a little bit of background on this. So there is somebody that goes out there that works for on the Moselle property, that cleans out the kennels, that feeds the dogs, but the primary purpose is to keep the grounds up. And his job is to spray down the kennels. And so what he testified to under oath is that he was out there that day. He talks about his procedure. He goes in there, he gets the dogs out, he puts their beds up on top of their kennels. They have like a little shelf thing. So he takes the beds, they all have beds, and he puts them on top of this thing, and he sprays all the kennels out. And he's very dutiful. And this is why I stopped this. He's very dutiful to take the hose and pull it all the way out and wrap it very particularly each and every time he is done. And this was a sticking point for the state, because the hose had been tampered with after he had been out there. So when he wrapped that hose, the hose was not in the same position as it was when he left. It seems like an insignificant detail, but it means somebody used it. And the whole time that they were talking, it didn't appear that anybody had used it. But that groundskeeper confirmed his process and talks about how he wraps the hose, and he wraps the hose like this every time, so it doesn't get bends in it and start springing leaks. There's a reason why he does it, and he explained it. Yes, and he was a very important witness in my opinion, because we had such a small window of time, and people wanted to know, how could Alec possibly not be have blood or anything on him, because he could have stripped down and hosed himself off. The hose was tampered with. He could have washed away some evidence. He could have washed away some blood. I mean, at the end of the day, he said he was touching his son and his wife. Their injuries were pretty extensive. There was a lot of blood and tissue around about that property, yet his shoes and clothes exhibited none of those. So a little odd. So I digress, but just wanted to bring that up.
About
CB Ref.
You've met him.
I have.
Before CB, was there anybody else that worked there?
There was for a long term. There was a fellow named Ronnie Freeman who worked out there.
Ronnie Freeman worked there for quite a while.
Yeah. I can't remember his entire stint, but it was several years.
And was Ronnie? Why did he end up not working for y'all anymore?
He expanded into his own business venture. He created his own business and wanted to take that on.
Okay. So it wasn't a bad thing.
Oh no, he just had an opportunity and he wanted to take it. So
I believe
had to give us his resignation.
Are you aware of any employees or other people that worked out there, or anything like that had to be let go or had to be terminated or not renewed? Or anybody you ever had problems with out there?
No, sir. To this day, those are the only two people that have been out there.
Okay.
I honestly can't imagine what kind of pressure Buster has to be under. I keep thinking, I keep seeing him biting his lip and stuff like that. And it makes me almost feel bad for him because, he's in here, he's dealing with something that I doubt he ever expected to deal with. And at the end of the day, he's still a son to a woman that was gunned down. And no matter how we perceive certain actions that he's taking or the family's taking, I mean, at the end of the day, we do have to remember this is his mother. And I have to imagine that this is a very painful event for this young man, one that he did not want or expect, despite what we feel about him. Remember that even if we think he's a liar and a no good kid, that's at the end of the day, that is our opinion and our speculation. It is not fact. And I'm not really happy or pleased with the situation, but I do feel bad for him. I will tell you that.
And I'll touch on Mr. Rowe here a little bit more in a second. Let's go back to, I guess, working on our timeline here. So you left Memorial Day weekend. That's that Sunday. And you go back up to Columbia that evening, I suppose?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And from there, are you there for the rest of the week, or?
I stayed in Columbia. I had a...
put that on mute. I apologize.
I stayed in Columbia on Sunday. I had a FaceTime interview on Monday, so that's why I went to Columbia and I sat in Columbia on Monday to do that. I
had a FaceTime interview.
I did. Hang on. This might have been. No, you know what? That's incorrect. That was the Monday prior. So The reason I left Edisto Sunday, went to Columbia Monday, met up with my girlfriend. Her and I drove on Monday to her house in Rock Hill. And then Tuesday I had to start my new job in Charlotte. So that's why we did all that.
And is that the Wiley job? Or?
That is.
Okay. Where were you working at before that? Or were you?
I was not.
So they're based out of Charlotte then?
Correct.
So rest of the week, you were working, I guess?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was all that work done in the Charlotte area or where?
In the Charlotte area.
And you were staying in Rock Hill at night, those nights?
Actually,
or
I was in the Charlotte area for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, I was in Greenville.
Was that work related?
It was.
So Thursday, Friday in Greenville, and then after Friday, where then?
Saturday, drove down to Columbia.
Were you staying overnight in Greenville?
Yes, sir. I was in a hotel.
Okay. So Saturday you drove to. I'm sorry.
Saturday I drove to Columbia.
Okay. And now your girlfriend's not with you on these trips.
She met me when I left Greenville on Saturday. She met me. She left me in Columbia on Saturday.
Okay. All right.
He's tearing his poor eye apart. Look at his eye. It's like all red.
Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Anything significant about Columbia Saturday? And then y'all just.
We were there for the baseball games, for the regional.
Stayed in Columbia that night?
Stayed in my apartment.
Just two of y'all? Y'all went, you said baseball game?
Went to the game. My parents came up, went to the game with them.
Okay, so your mother and father came up to the game Saturday?
Yes, sir. They also stayed the night in Columbia on Saturday. Went back to the game on Sunday.
Did they stay in a hotel or something?
They did.
He's getting nervous. He's tearing his eye up, scratching his head.
On, I guess that's Senate Street.
More games on Sunday?
Yes, sir.
And they came to those as well?
We did. We went to those.
Okay, so that brings us to Sunday after the games.
Afternoon. Hung out in Columbia in my apartment. Stayed Sunday night. Woke up early Monday morning. Had to be back in Charlotte for work.
All right, so your mother and your dad, did they stay Sunday night? You know?
They did not. They went back to Moselle.
Do you know, just up to this point, up to Sunday, do you know where your brother Paul had been around this time on the sea?
I did not know.
Did you remember having any conversations with Paul? Obviously was there during the trip to Addison.
Yes, sir.
Said, and you didn't report any issues, anything unusual. He didn't tell you about anything, any problems he was having, or anything like that.
No, sir.
Do you remember prior to Monday any conversations you had with Paul or anything specific, phone calls, anything like that?
No, sir.
And he didn't come to games, obviously.
He did not. He did not. Actually, I think he was in Charleston because I know he was going to have to leave Charleston if he wanted to come to the game and come, and he didn't. So I think he just remained down there in Charleston.
Is he seeing anybody now, or?
I don't believe so. I don't know.
So you have to be back at Charlotte, work at Charlotte on Monday. So
yes, sir.
Sunday night, after the games, what do you do?
I hung out in my apartment. Some people came over. We watched the rest of baseball going on around the place. Ordered some pizza and wings, and then just people left, and I went to sleep.
These are people, friends y'all have up there?
Yeah, friends of mine from
Was
the
your girlfriend
area.
there that night too?
She was not. She had left Sunday to go back to Rock Hill.
Who were some of the people that came over Sunday?
It was just two. It was a buddy of mine named, and then later on that evening, a buddy of mine named came over.
These people you know through school, or?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sorry, I didn't do the math. Have you graduated from USC? You have some years in?
I graduated from Wofford College.
Wofford, okay, I'm sorry. When did you graduate?
2018.
Graduation present.
It was. No, yes, that was the graduation present.
Gotcha. Not bad. All right, so comes over a little later. Had left by the time.
No, sir. Still there. Just the three of us.
Watch the rest of the games.
Yes, sir.
They both left afterwards, or did they stay over? Or?
They both left. We watched a pay-per-view fight at 11, and then they left when that was over, probably around midnight.
Right. So you spent the night there, and you need to be in Charlotte on Monday.
Monday.
So
Yes, sir.
What time do you leave out to go to?
I left Columbia at 9:30, 9:45 because I had to be at Charlotte at 11 o'clock.
Who's your boss up there in Charlotte? Anybody you report to, or?
Yeah, I report to the vice president and the human resources agent.
You know the names off.
Unfortunately, Pink, it kind of sucks a little bit, but they have to ask these questions. It's part of their job. I mean, you got to think, even in missing children cases, the questions that they have to ask the parents is something that's just it would turn your stomach. It would turn your stomach. But it's part of the job. They've got to ask these questions, because if they don't ask them, nobody else will. And as hard as it is, that's why I always say, these law enforcement officers, they know what they're doing. They know that they're hurting you. They know that, but they have to do it. It's part of their job. So they want to try to get through it, especially with anybody associated with a victim. They want to get through this stuff as quickly as possible. They want to clear you as quickly as possible. If you're ever put in a situation like this, the best thing is just just tell them everything. Even if you've done criminal activity, just tell them everything. Let them get through the process as expedient as possible. It will be a benefit to you no matter how you look at it. I promise you. Throw it all on the table. Let them pick up the pieces. If you got nothing to hide, don't hide it. Again, a lot of people like to tell people that you don't tell about, even not that this case has it, well, I guess it does in a part, drug activity. These aren't drug police. These are the murder police. They don't give a rat's ass whether you're selling drugs or not. And just because they're police doesn't mean they're going to go get the detective that's the drug police to come get you. A homicide supersedes drugs. And trust me, they don't give a crap about drugs. So you cooperate, you'll be in a better position than by not cooperating or trying to hide or trying to hinder, because when you lie to them, you are hindering a murder investigation. And now they're going to come after you for the drugs, right? Because you should have just been honest. They would have looked the other way. Depending on the situation. I shouldn't say it like that. Depending on the situation. I've seen officers look the other way. Because at the end of the day, they don't really care about the low-level drugs. They want the murderer. Just a thought. Just food for thought.
Yeah, the VP's name is... Do not know how to spell the last name.
Period it is.
Okay.
And the HR representative is...
All right, so you had to be there at 11, so you go work up there on Monday. And
Morning, Pebbles.
do you speak with any of your family members at all?
Charles, I'm gonna step out 1 second.
To a certain point on Monday, just about anything.
Yeah, me and my mom had shared several phone calls.
Interesting that the other detective, now the lady that is stepping out, she is the FBI liaison. She's the one that came in to be the liaison to the FBI. She doesn't know the Murdaughs. She doesn't have connection with the Murdaughs. And so I find it a little interesting that she excuses herself from an interrogation for whatever reason. So it could be something unrelated. It could be relaying information to somebody else. It could be something that just she can't discuss, or, maybe it might be the higher ups providing her information that she might have to question Buster on. We don't know what the situation is. I will tell you that it's usually not common for a law enforcement agent to excuse themselves in the middle of an interview. That's all I can tell you.
She was trying to get me. And we were on the phone back and forth because she was trying to get that ordered and sent to my girlfriend's house so that I could have it.
Remember about what time she spoke to you?
No, I just remember it was during the afternoon period. I was traveling around, didn't keep touch. I also spoke to my dad in the afternoon around probably 3:30.
Remember what that conversation was about?
Just about how, checking in, how each other's day was going, stuff like that. We did that pretty often.
That's pretty common.
Yes, sir.
How would you describe your relationship with your father?
Extremely close.
You think extremely close? How about with your mother?
Extremely close.
And your brother?
Extremely close.
And I'll talk a little more about your family in a little bit. I know some of this stuff's kind of probably a little difficult to talk about, I know, so I'm trying to get through some timeline things here. So you have a couple conversations. The last time you think you talked to your father was around 3:30 at least.
Yes, sir.
How about Paul? Did you talk to Paul at all on Monday?
I hadn't talked to Paul since Saturday. I spoke to him and asked him if he was coming up to the game. He informed me that he was not coming to the game, and that was the last time I spoke to him.
Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and move up a little bit more in the timeline here.
No problem.
As we go. So let's go through the rest of your day. I think about the latest thing I think I've got, unless I'm wrong, is you talking to your father around 3:30.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any more conversations with your mother after that you recall?
No, not that I recall.
Okay. Just kind of walk me through the rest of that day, if you will.
Well, I was at work. I was at a Wild Wing restaurant. I was calling applicants and scheduling them for an interview to come the next day.
Where was that restaurant located at?
It's in Charlotte. It's off of a road called Airsley's Boulevard.
No,
I think it's like AR. There's a Y in there somewhere. SLEY, something like that.
Sure, I can find it. You're calling applicants.
Yes, sir. Phone calling applicants, setting them up for interviews the next day at the same location.
I have to imagine that's a busy job right now. Trying to get them to come to work.
Yes, sir.
Set up interviews the following day.
Yes, sir.
And now, do they do when they come into the interview with you, or they?
I don't know. I was supposed to do it. I was supposed to start the day after.
All right. So you're there for a while doing that. How long are you at work?
Probably till 4. Probably left around 4. And I left. Had to run an errand. They wanted me to go to Party City and buy balloons and a helium tank. So I did that, and when I was done with that, then I went back to my girlfriend's house, which is where I was going to stay the rest of the week. In the evening.
So the Party City stuff you buy, you had to bring that back to that same restaurant afterwards?
No, sir. I just kept it in my truck, and I was going to return it to the restaurant the next day.
I got you.
I wonder what all that noise is now. I just now noticed it. There's been a lot of noise in here. A lot of background noise.
So you go back to your girlfriend's house?
Yes, sir.
It's just you and her there. Her mother's not there?
It is just her and I there, and her mother doesn't get there until later when she gets off work.
About what time was that you got back?
I probably got back around 5:30.
And mother gets there
Probably 6:30. Yeah.
Were you there when she got home?
Yes, I was. I was there for the rest of the night.
Okay. Anything significant happened the rest of that evening that you can, until the time that you obviously find out something? Anything leading up to that point?
No, sir. Just standard sitting around watching TV, got in bed.
And so at some point, you get contacted.
I do.
And who is that that contacts you?
My dad sent a text message that contained my girlfriend and I believe, and it said, "Call me urgent." Call him, and then he tells me what has happened.
You still have that text message?
I do.
So you call him and he tells you?
Yes,
You remember
sir.
what he told you?
When I got on the phone, he asked me if I was sitting down, and I was asking him if everything was okay. Is anything wrong? And he said something terrible has happened. I could tell that he was emotional. He goes on to tell me that my mother and brother have been shot and killed, and it gets to the point, and then he hands the phone to my Uncle Randy, and then he proceeds to tell me the same thing. And I told him that I am getting my stuff prepared, and that I am on the way home.
All right, let's go back and listen to that one more time. I want to hear this. We're going to go back about a minute. We're going to listen to this again. This is getting into what Alec told him. Now, I just backed it up a minute, so we're going to have to wait to listen to it, but I'll prepare you guys.
My girlfriend and I believe, and it said, "Call me urgent."
Oh, I didn't go far enough. Okay, let me take it back to, let's try it again.
Point. You get contacted.
I do.
And who is that that contacts you?
My dad sent a text message that contained my girlfriend and
his dad sent a text message. I don't know how I feel about that.
I believe, and it said, "Call me urgent." Call him, and then he tells me what has happened.
Okay, so now he's going to basically try to tell this law enforcement officer verbatim what happened and how it happened.
You still have that text message?
Interesting perspective, Mel.
So you call him and he tells you?
Yes.
You remember what he told you?
When I got on the phone, he asked me if I was sitting down, and I was asking him if everything was okay. Is anything wrong? And he said something terrible has happened. I could tell that he was emotional. He goes on to tell me that my mother and brother have been shot and killed, and it gets to the point, and then he hands the phone to my Uncle Randy, and then he proceeds to tell me the same thing. And I told him that I am getting my stuff prepared, and that I am on the way home.
You know what, Mel? I think I do want to expand on that a little bit, because we have to think about this. This was literally days. This was June 10th. So 3 days. I want to put this in perspective. 3 days after Buster's mother and brother were gunned down. So you're talking about raw emotion. A young man talking to law enforcement. And I don't think we saw the sweating, but, he's just telling law enforcement how his father expressed the death of his brother and mother to him. He didn't shed a tear. His voice didn't quiver. He didn't shake. He was just a matter of fact type of language. I didn't really pay attention to it until Mel brought it up, but yeah, the lack of emotion from such a young man that shouldn't really have that much control over his emotions, and dealing with something he's never dealt with before. Perfect. Yeah, I think Value Babe disconnected. Yeah, exactly. But, we have to take into consideration that everybody deals with stresses a little differently, but there's still a stress, there's still a stress, and unfortunately we're not seeing that stress being exhibited now. Granted, we're all watching this for the first time, including me. So we'll keep moving, we'll keep going down this interview, but there is something that's just not computing to me. Mel says, when I tell the story of my mother died, it has been 11 years and I still get emotional when I talk about it. Exactly. And you got to remember, I'm highly upset, guys, because I went to the grave of Paul and Maggie, and they're next to their family, and they're the only ones out of all this time that still don't have a headstone. Neither one of them have a headstone. It's hard to even find them, to even pay your respects. That to me is just even, I've got no words for that. I have absolutely, in all fairness, lost my respect for all the Murdaughs. Every last one of them, because they all have money, and one of the Murdaughs could have done the right thing, and none of them have. None of them. A headstone for two family members that were literally gunned down, and you can't even show them the respect that they deserve, that after all this time. And I was just there, so this is recent information. This is not from last year. This is just from a few months ago. I visited their grave, and there is no headstone on their grave. None. Barely a marker. It took me an hour to find them. An hour. And this cemetery is not that big. An hour. Sad.
And I don't know if you know how to answer this, but I mean, when you get that news, I mean, does your mind go to thinking about how that could have happened? Or I mean, did you start wondering how that could have occurred?
He wiped his face. He might
Yes,
be crying.
and just didn't understand how to really comprehend it. My main focus was getting my things together and getting down there to my family as soon as possible.
He's too matter of fact. I don't know.
And you told your girlfriend, I'm sure about.
Yes, my girlfriend was in bed. We were in bed together. She heard me on the phone. I told her what had happened. When I got off the phone, she immediately started packing her stuff, and she drove me down to Moselle.
So she drove you. Did she drive you in your Yukon?
She did. She drove her car down to Moselle.
What kind of car does she have?
She has a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
What color is that Jeep?
It's white.
South Carolina tags?
South Carolina tags.
Is she from Rock Hill, or?
She is.
So she drives you to Moselle. What do you know about what time you get down there?
We left probably around 11, got there maybe a little bit shy of 2 a.m., right around 2 a.m.
And you know what? I agree with that, Mel. I do agree with that. Like, but this is a family that is ultra wealthy, and now granted, their wealth has probably been hindered quite a bit because they had to pay a lot of money back. But for the most part, somebody has a few grand to put a headstone up for their murdered family members in that family. Period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I bet you somebody in that family has a ring that's worth more than putting all the headstones on all the graves out there. So somebody should have had a headstone for these, for Maggie and Paul a long time ago, in my opinion. So I'm a little hurt about that. And I think the audience should be a little hurt about that too. What's going on with the Murdaughs? It's not the responsibility. It was your family member that took these souls out. It's not the responsibility of Maggie's mom to pay for her headstone when your family member is the reason why it needs to be put up at all. Sorry. Exactly, JB's mama. Exactly.
And do you have any more conversations with your family once you're there?
Hey, Randy.
Once I
Does
get
anybody
there.
give you any more details, I guess, about what has happened? Does anyone?
No, sure. Just go inside. Me and my dad embrace very emotionally, and try to just start.
All right. So one thing I want to touch on, and I've still got I know it probably seems like we've gone through your whole life story here, and I might be a little tedious in the way I ask these questions, but a lot of times asking things will give me another thing to splinter off on. I will circle back, but when your father called, he did make mention to Paul receiving threats. He said something about he's been receiving threats, and he said something about my son knowing who they are. And I think he kind of makes reference to you knowing something about those threats. And I don't know if you're aware of that or whatever, but it kind of brings me to the next thing here. And that's why a little bit why I asked you about your thought process just now. And certainly you've had more time to talk about it and process it since that time. But I'd like to talk a little bit about that comment and those feelings.
Good morning, Alabama.
These threats and so forth. And there may be multiples, it may be one significant one, but I'll let you start. I see you nodding. You must have something in mind. Yeah.
Well, I understood when he used to tell me what happened. I didn't understand of anybody, directly messaging him and threatening in his life and things of that such. The things that I.
Okay, so let's go back there, because this was a contention that Alec Murdaugh brought up himself, that the family themselves were being threatened. So I want to go back and re-listen to this, because this was a point that was brought up in the trial. So let's see what Buster has to say about this. Okay.
Make mention to Paul receiving threats. He said something about he's been receiving threats, and he said something about my son knowing who they are. And I think he kind of makes reference to you knowing something about those threats. And I don't know if you're aware of that or.
So Dad alluded that brother has information to support his claim of the threats. Let's listen to what his knowledge of those threats are.
Whatever, but it kind of brings me to the next thing.
Oh, and before we go any further, guys, if this is information that you like, if this is content that you like, if you guys wouldn't mind stopping right now and going out and giving this video a thumbs up, it helps the algorithm and it helps this channel get well known, better known out there on the streets of YouTube. So if you could do me that solid, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Here, and that's why a little bit why I asked you about your thought process just now. And certainly you've had more time to talk about it and process it since that time. But I'd like to talk a little bit about that comment and those feelings and these threats and so forth. And there may be multiples, it may be one significant one, but I'll let you start.
Morning, Bookworm.
I see you nodding. You must have something in mind. Yeah.
I don't think I said good morning to
I understood
you,
when he used to tell me what happened. I didn't understand of anybody,
there it is,
directly messaging him and threatening in his life and things of that such. The things that I knew about were, if he was out somewhere,
It's funny how he makes sure, like he seems well versed to make sure that none of these threats came by phone. He was very cognizant to point that out. I find that particularly odd in this. It's almost implying that he knows they're not going to get any digital footprint from this, because let's face it, there were no police reports filed. All of a sudden, we have threats with no police reports. It's just something to think about. Just that, it doesn't mean that it means something. It's just an observation that I personally just took when he stated this.
Somebody would, brush up with him, call him, piece of shit and all these other things. And, that was mostly my understanding of what he was going through, is that he would try to go places with his friends. And then there was always somebody there that wanted to, make a comment or stir something up in that sense.
So he never tells you about, like, I got a text message, somebody threatening me. I never got somebody DMing me or sending something on social media or driving by the house or spray painting something or anything over like that somebody was threatening.
No, sir. He never told me anything about anything like that. I never was aware of anything like that.
But he would tell you about people.
I have to be honest with you guys. If this was Don Wells, we would be tearing this boy apart. Lack of emotion, talking about situations, not batting an eye, sweating, not showing any type of emotion. This is my understanding. It's stuff I've read. So anybody out there that understands this more than I would have the information related to mental illness. I've always been told that mental illness is transferred to the children more so from the father than the mother. If we believe that Alec is a psychopath or narcissistic or something of that, medical diagnoses, would it be possible that maybe Buster has the same issues? Or these things don't, my understanding, again, it's my understanding, it doesn't mean that it's factual or that it's accurate. But it's my understanding that when you have mental illness, you can be normal up for years, and then there's something that goes on in your life, or you get to a certain age, and then once you start getting to that certain age, you start exhibiting those types of behaviors. Is this a situation like that? Because I have to be honest with you, now that Mel B brought the lack of emotion up, I don't know even if the most seasoned attorneys can shut their emotions off like this when it comes to their own family, predominantly a mother, the one that gave birth to you. I'm really paying attention to this, and I'm sorry. Like I said, I wasn't paying attention. Why we do this with a lot of people is because we like that perspective, and all people's eyes on here. Somebody might see something that somebody else doesn't. And this is a great example where we're just watching this and we're listening to the words, but we're not paying attention to Buster. And Buster is really exhibiting nothing here. And if this was an interview where Don Wells was in that hot seat, I could say that we would probably have a lot more negative things to be saying about him. I don't want that to be the case. That's not what I'm getting at here. I'm just simply providing that observation of how we deal with different people, that are us ourselves, can be hypocritical at times when even assessing these. And it really does. And the reason why that happens is because each individual case is based upon its own merit. And while we may say this is what it is for this, the details of the case are different. So the behaviors and the actions wouldn't be associated to the same things. That's just my personal opinion. But he's talking about some sensitive topics here, really close to the time his mom and his brother were executed. Days from the time he learned his mom and brother were executed. And he is really emotionless here. And I don't understand that. I mean, we're females. Most of us in the chat are females. So, and I know that the guys are going to be nodding their head when I say this. We're more emotional. Period. We're just designed emotion. We can't take our emotion out of a female because, we're created to be moms, right? We're created to be sensitive and to be nurturing and to be more understanding than the male counterparts. The male counterparts, if you really look at the history, were out to go out and, get the wood, hunt, if we were to go to ancient times, right? They were just designed differently. Their bodies are designed differently. Their brains are designed differently. They don't deal with emotion the same way as we deal with emotion. They're not as sensitive in most cases. As women, we are emotional. So is this a thing where we're just a little, because we're females, we're just a little more emotional on these topics than, say, a guy? I've seen some of the meanest, burliest guys, when it comes to their mama, break down. And we've got this young boy. He's a kid. He's a baby. Barely any life experience. Sheltered. Mom and brother are executed, and he's able to keep a straight face, something that seasoned people can't do. It makes you wonder. Just an observation, just a perspective. Does it mean anything? Of course not.
Maybe intimidating him or making those kind of comments and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
Along those lines.
There had actually been several physical assaults on Paul.
Okay.
I don't know any details.
Do we know if any of them had actually been reported to authorities?
I do not know.
Actually, that red mark on his face is not from crying. He was, if you noticed when this interview started, he was scratching when they were first starting the interview before they cooled the car down when he was sweating. I think it was a nervous tick, honestly. I really do. We'll go back and evaluate it because it happened at the very beginning of this video, so we can go back really easily and find it, but we'll wait until we get to the end so we don't lose our place.
Physical assault in Charleston, but I don't know if you were aware of that or not.
I was aware of that.
And Danny, just briefly, I apologize. I'm so terrible with last names. Can I
Henderson?
Yes, it could be. Absolutely.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. I'll get you on mine as well. Okay, so let me run some just specific stuff by you here. We all know about the boat incident, and I'm not trying to assume too much, but I'm guessing that a lot of these threats and so forth are coming as a result of that boat incident as one of the primary things. Am I wrong in that?
That's always what I thought.
That's been 100% of it, you think, or has there been other reasons? Or
I think that's been the cause.
Okay.
All right, let's listen to that again. I think I just missed it. I was reading it. Hold on.
Too much, but I'm guessing that a lot of these threats and so forth are coming as a
Okay,
result
so
of
it's
that
related
boat
to the
incident
threats.
as one of the primary things.
I missed
Am
that.
I wrong in that?
That's always what I thought.
That's been 100% of it, you think, or has there been other reasons? Or
I think that's been the cause.
Okay. As far as the other passengers on that boat, Anthony and Connor and the other girls and so forth on there, did you ever have any, or did he ever express any specific concerns about any of them posing a threat, threatening, and being frightened of them? Anything along those lines, specifically related to those people?
No, sir.
Did Paul have any other, that you're aware of, any other enemies, rivals, anybody else who you've considered or thought about, or that he's directly told you about that might have wanted to harm him?
No, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that you can look up on, Facebook to say all these terrible things and whatnot. Their names I couldn't relay to you. I just, I know there were a lot of people out there that were upset about the things that had happened and had expressed that to him in public situations. Now, I don't know any of them by their name.
Was Paul taking any kind of precautions about these threats? I mean, I've been out to the area, and y'all are all avid hunters and so forth. Obviously, there's a lot of weapons around the house and so forth. Was Paul taking any other precautions or anything to protect himself from these sort of things? I mean,
I don't think so. I mean, really, I'd say the only precaution he took is anytime he went somewhere where these things were known to happen, he would just be around a bunch of his buddies that would be able to, de-escalate any situation that arose.
Did he typically carry weapons with him in his vehicle? Or?
There would occasionally be guns in his truck, just from forgetting to remove them from the farm and having them be around.
Now, when you say his truck, there's a lot of trucks out there, obviously, which one was he primarily getting around in?
His primary truck was the F-150 Platinum, but he would also sometimes take the 250 diesel with him too. If ever.
F-150 Platinum, is that the black one?
No, sir. No, sir. It's a white truck.
I don't know if I've seen him cry. I mean, he's wiping his eyes, but I'm not seeing any like the camera is so close to his face. I see him wiping his eyes and scratching that one spot on his eyes and scratching his head a lot, but I'm not really. I've been looking and I haven't really seen any actual tears come out of his eyes. I mean, he's got all these things going on, but I'm not seeing tears is the problem. I mean, it like even this, it looks like he might be crying, but when you look at his face, his face is dry. There's no tears. Even with you wiping your face and you drying your face, your eyelashes would still be wet. We're not seeing any of that. We're seeing him rubbing a dry eye, in my opinion. I could be totally wrong. It might be something where it's clear and we're not seeing it. I'm kind of in that same realm a little bit. I'm starting to get there. I like Buster. I don't understand a few things, but I don't have any beef with him. I just don't understand a few things that I wish he would clarify, which he probably won't. So there's that.
About what year though?
I don't. I'd like to say around the 14-15 mark. The black one it was my old truck.
Good morning, Harsh Time.
The one video, the Lariat.
Yes.
Dumpling, good morning.
And then it stays down there for when I come and need to use it.
It's just kind of a getting around down there truck.
Correct.
And so he also uses, you said, a diesel.
He does. Like if he ever puts his truck in the shop or he ever got to make some, he'll come down to Moselle, get the diesel, take it back to Columbia for a couple of days, and then come back and trade them back out.
He's got something going on with his eye.
So actually, let's back up a little bit and talk about Paul some then. You say he'll come down from Columbia. So was he primarily staying in Columbia?
He was during the academic year. He was going to school there.
Where does he stay at in Columbia?
He has an apartment in it's called like
They redacted some.
I get them confused. It's one or the other.
Okay, I think I know probably where you're talking about. Does he live in that apartment alone, or
No. There's a boy in there that stays with him. Just one of the boys down for Memorial Day.
Right.
He stays in there.
He's a good friend of his.
He is. Yes, sir.
It's easy to stiff, though. I mean, if you're wanting to,
So,
I don't know.
During the academic year, and
I don't know.
now that that's over, so had he left Columbia and now was staying in Moselle? Do you know where he was staying leading up to this?
He was kind of all around. He'd go stay at Moselle. I know he'd love to go down to Charleston towards more of the weekend and stuff like that. It just really depends on what was going on at the time, where he was going to be. Very sporadic like that.
Right. When he stays in Charleston, is there a place down there?
Not that he just has multiple friends, and he'll stay with one of them.
Okay. Did he ever stay in Edisto?
Yeah.
weeks and other times?
Yes, sir. We stayed down at Edisto too.
And on his own sometimes. Now, when he stayed at Moselle, did he stay in the main house usually? Did he stay in one of the outbuildings or anything like that?
Yeah, he would stay in the main house.
And now, to your knowledge, just touching again on Moselle, your mother and father stay in the main house usually?
Yes, sir.
Do they ever split time between places? Stay in other houses or other places?
Yeah.
You know,
Mom was doing a lot of renovations down at the beach house, so sometimes she would be staying down there.
Okay.
And Dad would obviously be staying to go to work in Moselle. And she was always back and forth a lot. She'd go up there and then she'd have to come take care of some stuff down at the farm, and then she'd go back and forth.
Generally speaking, starting with, your family's obviously been under a lot of pressure over the last year or so here. More than a year here, but obviously since the boat accident, things have been difficult. I have to imagine that does put some kind of strain on everyone and pressure, and then you have the threats on top of that. I know this sounds a little personal, but if I don't ask it, somebody else will make up something. That's why I'm asking these questions. Were there any family problems that you were seeing that might have been a cause of that stress, or fights where any things like that, just in general?
No, sir. No family problems. I mean, obviously people.
No family problems. No family problems. Everybody in the family knew that Alec Murdaugh was utilizing narcotics, and there was a family spiraling effects because of it, where his brother was the detective. Everybody knew his brother was the detective, the little detective of the house that told mommy when daddy wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing. So there's no way that Buster, everybody knew in the immediate family that Alec had this problem. I mean, he had already been to some rehab facilities while Maggie was alive. How could the family not know that he was struggling with drug addiction and that this was a big contention in the family? But here, while he is speaking to law enforcement, he's not being truthful. Why? Why is Buster being untruthful? Because we all know Buster knew about his father's addiction. We need to look at that, because we just caught him in a lie, and he did it with a straight face and with no hesitation. So we need to consider that, because we know for a fact that's a lie.
People are going to be upset about it, but no, it never caused any tension between any of us.
That you can see.
Yes, sir.
So, to your knowledge, there weren't any times where maybe they were.
He's talking about his mother his mother and brother's murder while chewing on his nails and staring out the window. I don't know. And maybe you guys are right. This should have been in an interrogation room. Keep him keep his attention, I don't know.
Your family were spending time apart, or they were spending time apart from Paul, or anything like that? Any kind of family division that you were aware of, any of that kind of thing?
I don't know. I mean, just when people had to do what they had to do in a different area, then we would usually all meet up for weekends and whenever we could.
And as we talked, y'all were together on Memorial Day weekend, and you described that as a good family weekend, no significant problems that you know of.
Yes, sir.
So getting back, I guess, a little bit more, we talked about the threats, we covered that. Had you ever talked to your father about any of the threats or any of the stuff that Paul had had brought it to you, or did you ever go to him about concern and tell him that, hey, Paul's telling me this, or
Yeah, did I ever go to my dad?
about that?
I just said that I was worried about him. That he likes to go places and he seems to be getting a lot of lip from a lot of people, and just that I, basically, giving up my sympathy, really, just saying, feel bad for him and whatnot.
He's talking about his brother, and he's just nonchalant about, oh yeah, I feel bad. I felt bad for him. I want you guys to go again. There's we've got a lot of people that have great perspective in here, from this being him being in shock, which is a good possibility, to him just being out of tears. Maybe he's cried so much that he's out of tears. But I know for me, whenever I cry, my top lids get so swollen. And it's noticeable even like the next day. And depending on how hard I cry, they're swollen even into the following day. I've had losses in my families that has caused a lot of grief for me. And I know when I've cried for days and days on end, my eyes are so puffy. If I don't put makeup on, because I got a little bit of baggage, right? I'm a middle-aged woman right now. If I'm not there yet, I'm getting there. I'm getting closer and closer, right? So, you got it looks almost like you got a black eye, if you got a little bit of shadow in your house, because your eyes are so puffy, and you got the puffiness under here, which is making these creases right here really known. We're not seeing that. We're seeing a red mark that he has been picking at since the beginning of this, this interrogation / interview. We just caught him in a lie. So but people are bringing up the fact that he could have just be cried out. That is a possibility. We don't know. I mean, we are all speculating here, because the only person that really knows what's going on with this boy is this boy and this boy alone, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Anything that we're doing about this is all speculative. It's not to be taken as fact or truth, because it's our opinion, all of our opinions, even whether you agree with me or not, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answers here, but we did catch him in a lie, and we have to look at that. And he's just talking about his brother. Let me just back this up just a little bit. He's talking about his brother. No emotion, guys. I'm sorry. None. It's a little concerning for me. I'm going to say it. It's a little concerning.
The threats or any of the stuff that Paul had brought up to you, or did you ever go to him about concern and tell him that, hey, Paul's telling me this, or
Yeah, did I ever go to my dad?
about that?
I just said that I was worried about him. That he likes to go places and he seems to be getting a lot of lip from a lot of people, and just that I, basically, giving up my sympathy, really, just saying, feel bad for him and whatnot.
Do you know if Paul was telling your father about any of the stuff?
I don't know. I'm sure he was. They were very close, through everything. They had gone through everything together. So I'm sure that he was notifying him, probably even more so than he was notifying me.
All right, let's go back and talk a little bit about a guy I brought up earlier, C.B. Rao. Am I saying that right, Rao? Rowe. Okay. How long, to your knowledge, has C.B. worked?
Not long. Let's see. He had just kind of been around right before turkey season started, so probably late February, early March area, maybe.
what is he hired to do there?
He's hired to be just an upkeeper. When we lost our other fella, everything had kind of gotten grown up and a little bit out of sorts, and he was there to, you know, kind of work on equipment if it was broken, you know, plow and plant food plots, you know, fix deer stands, you know, just a general manager of the property.
And that's basically the same thing his predecessor had done.
Yeah.
How did they go about hiring him?
I'm not sure. Dad, I spoke to Dad one day, and he said that he was meeting with a fella that he thought would be a good fit to work out there and take Ronnie's spot. And then I said, okay, great, we need somebody out there. And he's called back and said that he'd hired this fella and that he was going to start working out there and helping.
Did you ever get any information on him while he worked there? On was he doing a good job? Was he not doing a good job? I mean, did you ever hear from either Paul or from your father or your mother about the kind of job he was doing?
I had heard that he'd done some things that they were displeased with. I know he killed a bunch of sunflowers and other plants, but you know, for the most part, I think he was doing what was asked of him, and you know, wasn't in a huge row about stuff like that. Paul's also very picky when it comes to the property, so he wants everything to be perfect.
No, that there's his attorney's actually in the back seat right behind him. He's in this interview right now, and the attorney, you can't see him, is sitting directly behind Buster. So he has an attorney representing him for this interview. And made that mention, and that was mentioned at the beginning of this interview as well. Just a FYI. I know you just came in. By the way, good morning, Sergeant. Rosie, good morning. Rapper, good morning. Who else did I miss? Love Lakers, good morning. Everybody else that is coming in, if you have not yet hit the thumbs up button on your way in, if you could do me a solid and do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. And God bless each of you.
And so Paul did a fair amount of work out there himself.
Yes. Yeah, Paul did a huge amount of work.
No, was that his only job, or Paul had some other stuff he was doing, or was it primarily working on the property?
When he wasn't in school, he was really primarily working on the property. I know he had spoken about going and starting to maybe help Uncle John do some stuff over there at his business, but I don't know if that had formed yet. So other than school, it's pretty much either he was at school or he was doing something around the property.
John, your uncle?
Yes.
And what is his business?
It's the Murdaugh Rental Company. He sells rental equipment.
Okay. So he'd be working over there assisting him with rental equipment sales?
Yeah, and like I said, he had just mentioned, I'm not even sure that had started at all.
Okay. So with CB being hired, is CB reporting to Paul, or is Paul just working in concert with him? Or?
No, Paul just understands some things that needs to be done, and Dad gives us authority when he hires somebody that if we want something to him to do, we're allowed to go tell him that we want him to do something. And Paul, you know, would obviously help and would oversee a lot. So, you know, if CB did something, Paul would go and look at it, see what the product was like.
Well, thank you, hon.
In the end, he reported to Dad.
Katie, I apologize. I've been doing a lot of talking up here. If you need to elaborate on something I've asked a question about, please chime in. Oh, okay. All right, so he killed some sunflowers, some other things. Anything else he had done job performance-wise you'd heard about? Or
no, just I would get a call here or there talking about, hey, man, CB messed this up. And then I wouldn't put.
Is this from Paul?
It'd be from Paul or from Dad, or even I guess Paul would tell Mom sometimes, and even she would call me and tell me what Paul had said. But that was really about it that I understood. I would shake up, you know, when I'm somewhere else, I'm like, all right, well, shake a lot of it off.
Was there any talk about firing CB because of this stuff? Is that anything?
Never that I heard.
Yeah. And he's still working there now. Is that
correct? Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, he was working there yesterday.
Anybody else work out on the property?
Yeah, we do have a house lady.
Oh, thank you, love.
That works inside the house, cleaning the house.
Who is that?
Her name is Blanca.
Blanca.
I assume so.
Don't know last name.
No, I don't know her last name.
How long has Blanca worked at the house?
Blanca's been working there now for about, I'd say steady. She's been there for a while, maybe even like a year or so.
And so is Blanca there like every day, every couple days a week?
It depends. Her schedule changes, but she'll come, either a couple days in a row, day, not be there, and then come a day. It fluctuates.
Bianca is the housekeeper that Maggie was starting to trust and rely on. It's who they hired after Gloria Satterfield lost her life on their property. It's the lady that my understanding that still has the dog, the Maggie's dog. So, and she's been taking care of it, taking care of him. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Bianca's the one that first talked about Paul being, no, I think it was the sister. I think the sister was the first one that talked about Paul being the little detective, Maggie's sister, when she was on the stand. I think she was one of the first people that took the stand for the state. One of the first people. I don't know if she was the first person, but she was at the beginning of the trial, though. And Bianca had a lot to say. She had some information.
Does she live nearby?
I don't know. I think she lives in Brunson, maybe.
Anything you can say about her that you know her? I mean, any issues with her?
No issues with her. She's just a nice lady. She just, she comes in and sweeps and mops and laundry and stuff like that.
Okay. Block ever bring any family members out to the property, or that you know of?
No, sir.
Like that? So she has access to the house and so forth. Does she clean out on any of the other grounds, or is it just a house thing, as far as you know?
No, it's just a house. And if we do something, she'll also clean the cabin occasionally. But it's mostly everything takes place up at the big house for her.
And when you say the cabin, that's that building when you're coming up the road.
It is.
Kennels on your right.
Yes, sir.
So that is what I was talking about. It almost looks like there's neighbors to them, but it's not. It's their hunting cabins. There's nobody out there for I mean, when you drive, you got to drive a significant way. Their neighbors are not in walking distance.
Anybody stay in the cabin regularly?
No one stays in there regularly.
Anybody stay in there occasionally?
Occasionally, yeah. Like sometimes if we're gonna have a crowd of people over, we'll say we're gonna stay at the cabin just to give mom and dad some peace, not keep them up at night.
How many people the cabin accommodate?
It's got a double bed. It's got 3 twins and 2 pull-out couches. So I mean, if you had to, I guess you could really sleep. You can sleep 9, 10 people in there. I don't think I've ever had it that full.
It's going back to CB just for a little bit. So he works the whole property and all. Does he do anything inside the house?
No, sir. Closest he'll get to the house is he may be asked to blow off the porch. But no, he doesn't do anything inside.
Do you know anything about him personally? Family life, history, any of that kind of stuff?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I met him one day and he broke down like all these jobs he used to have. I didn't really retain a whole lot of it, I know.
Anything that stood out to you?
No. I know that he was, I don't know, since he's been working, I know he was prosecuted in a case when he was teaching at Thomas Hayward Academy.
You know anything about that?
No, I don't know anything about it. I just knew that it occurred.
Is it because he told you about it, or because you heard it through other means?
No, because I heard it through somebody. I can't remember where that came from either. Maybe mom.
anybody else that works out there?
No, sir. That's it.
You familiar with the gentleman that feeds the dogs?
Oh, Dale. Dale does. Yeah, Dale works out there. I'm sorry.
Dale, you know his last name?
No, I don't.
You know anything that much about Dale?
No, I just know Dale shows up twice a day, sprays the kennels out, feeds the dogs, and feeds the chickens, and gives them all water.
I forgot I muted my microphone. That person, that the dog kennel cleaner, that is the one that, again, we're talking about that had wound up the hose that day. So let's just keep listening.
Ever had any problems with the animals on the farm? Anybody ever try to harm them, poison them, shoot them, any of that kind of stuff?
No, sir.
Issues of animals turning up mysteriously dead or vandalism to the kennels?
No, I mean, we've had some chickens die, but that's just because chickens die.
Nothing unusual.
No, sir.
How about so y'all got several outbuildings in that house. You've got the cabin, and you've got the main house itself, the thing there. And the vehicles that are there. And are there ever any weapons just left in any of those locations? As far as weapon storage out there in that area, do you know primarily where weapons are kept? Is it unusual to have them in other places?
Primarily, weapons are kept up at the big house in what we call the pool table room. It's like the gaming room, and there's a big gun cabinet in there. But yeah, weapons are always forgotten. We'll go on hunts, and it's never unusual to find a gun in a car or in a Ranger, or I mean, even leaned up in the shed. I've left a shotgun up there before sometimes after duck hunts and whatnot. But yes,
You left the shotgun where?
I just know that I've left them around at times. Nothing specific.
Okay. Nothing specific. Ever had any of these guns go missing or?
Not to my knowledge. I know that for Christmas one year, me and my brother both got 300 blackouts, and I know that one of those went missing. But I mean, we got them 3 years ago, so one went missing a while ago.
You know how that happened?
I don't.
No, this is the interrogation, Sergeant. This is the interrogation that he had 3 days after his mom and brother were executed. And one of the members in the audience had made mention of how emotionless he has been throughout this entire interview. He's been more fidgety than emotional. We've caught him in at least one mistruth so far. Well, a couple, but one major.
You still have yours? Or?
I do. Yes, sir.
Where's yours at?
Well, it was at the house, but I think it's been taken now.
Is that the only two of those?
No, none.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's just two.
And you missed it. Also, you missed it because he was explaining to law enforcement the call that he received from his father, and he was just he was to be honest with you, I hate even saying this, but he was a Don Wells in his response. He was an absolute Don Wells in his response. It's just an observation. I don't know if it means anything. I'm not going to speculate it means anything because it's just an observation, unfortunately.
You say it was taking long.
But this was only this was only 3 days after his mother and brother were gunned down. No emotion, none.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You know anything about the one that went missing, how that happened?
I don't.
That one belonged to the car?
Yes, sir. It was, that was the one he was gifted.
You mentioned those two specifically, but are there any other guns you can remember that might have either gone missing or were suspected stolen, or
No, sir.
maybe guests out there, or anybody that might have
Not other than that one.
ever sold any of the weapons out there, or know if your brothers sold any of the weapons out there?
I don't know. I'm sure they have. But as far as the ones that I know that are mine, you know, they're all there, but not to my knowledge. No, I don't remember them selling anything or anything like that.
Which ones would you consider yours?
I have a 243 rifle that is a Tika. I have a 20 gauge Beretta, and I have a 12 gauge Benelli.
And then the blackout rifle.
Oh, and the 300 blackout.
Any handguns?
We do have handguns.
When you say we, you mean individually, or y'all just have handguns in the safe?
We just have them at the house. We just have a couple.
You keep one in your vehicle or anything?
No, sir.
You keep any of the other weapons in your vehicle as you're traveling back and forth?
No, sir.
Nothing for personal protection, anything like that up there?
No, sir.
I would like to know, since he doesn't believe his father's the one that did this and he's in fear for his own safety, if he's carrying one now. I'd like to know.
How about your brother? Do you have any idea what guns he owned, or which ones were his?
A little bit more than I did. I know he's got same thing, 12, 20 gauge. I think his are both Benelli. I know he's got.
You think about you have 20 gauge Brady, you think he's got 20 gauge?
I think he's got a 20 gauge. I think he's got a 20 gauge Benelli. I don't know, because a lot of them Dad buys and we just use them as like commutal.
Yeah.
But the ones that I guess he said what would be his is, I know he's got a 20 gauge Beretta, the same one as mine. We just have two of them. Okay. And then he's got 12 gauge Benelli, and he's got a 270 short mag. He's got a 7mm 08. And obviously he had one of the blackouts that is missing.
You know when that went missing?
No, I know it wasn't far off from when we got him in Christmas, maybe 6 months to 8 months, maybe to a year after that. So it's, multiple years it's been gone.
You said 1 year, Christmas. Did you say what year?
It would have been the Christmas of 2018.
Right. Let's talk about the kennels for a little bit.
The what?
I want to talk about the kennels.
Okay.
And obviously, that's where things happen down there.
Yes, sir.
I just want to talk about maybe some routines down there. Your mother frequented the kennels, I suppose.
My mom did frequent the kennels when she was in Moselle. She loved to go down there, and she would let the dogs out and do all that. So she was down there often.
What's your mother, if we can talk about her for a moment, just digress her from the kennels just a little bit. Her day-to-day as you understood it, did she have any kind of work she did, side jobs, volunteering, anything that she passed her time with?
Nothing like that. She would just, her day-to-day were, getting things for us done that we needed.
Okay.
And taking care of anything around the house and planning anything or whatnot.
And it sounds like she was doing some renovations at the beach house in Edison. Was she having contractors do that work? Was it stuff she was doing, or?
Yeah, she was doing some inside stuff with a interior decorator, and also some contractors. Yeah, they were redoing some ceilings and some flooring and stuff like that. And then she had gotten a decorator in there, and they were doing that. And then her most recent thing is she was getting a couple local.
Oh, thank you, Sergeant.
Fixing the porches and the staircases.
It was a constant need on the beach. So when she's not down there at Edisto doing that and working on that, you don't know of any other things she might have been doing, any other side work, volunteering, anything like that?
No, she didn't. No, she didn't do any side work or any volunteering, nothing like that.
Did you spend any time with any other family members?
Oh yeah, she frequented. Or wait, what now?
Any other family members, like an extended family or like her family?
Yeah, she would always, she was always in pretty constant contact with her mother and her sister, and they would see each other pretty frequently, whether they'd go to Somerville and have lunch with their mom, or they go shopping in Charleston or anything like that.
Mother lives in Somerville.
So my mom's mom lives in Somerville. Yeah.
My apologies. Mother's mother lives in Somerville, and her sister.
Sister lives in Charleston.
And so she spent a lot of time there at Moselle.
Mom,
would you say? Yes.
Yeah. We were there usually. Our kind of routine was we were there kind of when it was cooler and during a hunting season, and then towards the summer when it kicked up, we would be more, and she would be more down to the beach as we all would.
Charles.
Yes.
What about like a best friend? Excuse me. I have flowers blooming in the field next to my house, and I might die from it. It's not COVID. I've been tested.
So it sounds like this. Okay, so guys, we just realized the sniffles that we've been hearing are not sniffles from Buster. They're the lady in the back seat we're hearing sniffling. Her plants are about to kill her. She's the one with the allergies.
Friends over to the house in Moselle, or with like a best friend or somebody like that, somebody close to her that wasn't necessarily family would go with her anywhere?
Not usually. I mean, Moselle said.
Oh, is that rap that now has a purr at the end? I don't know. I thought I heard that rap was in the Pokey. I don't know.
Desolate area.
Yeah.
But her most frequent conversations, truly took place with, who was
I don't know, Brooklyn. I don't know.
But that's really it. I know she spoke to a lot on the telephone, and they have a place not too far down the road from where our farm is.
I'll get to
But
that
those
tweet.
Were strict, deep contact.
So there was really nobody else like she would confide in, or like if something was wrong, did you know of anybody she'd like?
Are you
call up
really?
and say, hey, I got to get this off my chest or anything like that?
No, nobody other than those people that I've named.
Okay.
Would go to the kennels? I mean, was there a set routine to how she did that, or so forth?
I don't think so, and I don't know. I didn't go with her all the time. I just think she, and she also she would like to walk. She would walk from the house to the kennel. She would like to do that for exercise, and then when she got down there, I think she just kind of played with the dog. She would maybe feed a dog, spray out a kennel if she needed to, if it was dirty. She'd walk up there. Sometimes I'm assuming we used to get packages at the shed. Maybe she would check for packages.
Dogs themselves, I mean, did any of them specifically belong to any specific members of the family, or?
Well, we would kind of title them that way, but they were all just family dogs. Like my black dog's up there, who I claim as mine. But other than that, I know Bubba was a family dog. Paul just had gotten a dog, but he's off at obedient camp.
Bubba's the one that Bianca has.
My grandfather's dog would be out there often. My buddy Rogan's dog would be out there often because he worked all day, and he would check him into the kennel and then come get him in the evening. And then we had a couple.
Rogan is
Rogan Gibson.
Where does Rogan live?
He's been going in between, but his house is out on. But he's the way his work's lined up, he's been staying with his girlfriend because he's been working more.
He has a dog out there as well.
He does. He just got a puppy, and he'll put it out there if he needs to go do something for a little while.
And Would it be unusual for Paul to be down there around that same time, as far as you know?
No, Paul was always around, maybe not the kennel, but around that shed area. He would, he liked to work on stuff. So he was usually around any given time around there.
And I ask these questions to lead to something you may have thought about. I mean, when you find out about this terrible thing that's happened and so forth, and you found out that they were down there, was their presence down there of any kind of surprise to you?
No, sir.
Okay. Buster, do you know anybody who would have wanted to harm your mother?
No, sir.
Anything she ever told you about, any threats, any issues? Anyone you've ever seen threaten her? Anybody else you can think of that maybe temporary work or somebody doing work out of the property, might be for some other reason. Could be just a contractor that came out to paint something or work on a car or deliver something out there. Anything
No,
that
sir.
comes to mind that you might be aware of. I know you're not down there as much as the others.
Well,
so.
Jules,
That
you
I-
take
that I
care.
knew
Be
of, there
safe.
was nothing on anybody's calendar of anybody coming to do anything, especially that time in the evening.
It's about 20 some odd minutes left.
As you've had a chance to think about it, and I think I've alluded to this, or maybe even before I've asked it, but I mean, as you've thought of it, I mean,
Well,
do you have
happy
any
early
thoughts about who
birthday.
might have wanted to harm anybody?
No, sir. I know people disliked him due to the accident, but I couldn't single out anybody that I know that would want to do what has been done.
Nobody has a financial motive, really, other than Alec in this situation. There's no, I mean, even the fight with the Beach family wouldn't have resulted in this because they wanted to hurt this family financially, not physically. Because if they wanted to hurt this family physically, they would have already done it. They would have done it right after, when their emotions were at the strongest that they would have ever been in this entire situation, would have been up front. Kind of like this, all those emotions are up front. They don't come later down the road. They typically, those waves of emotions and your grieving process, your stages of grieving come much sooner than later. You don't go through this dormant stage and then all of a sudden you get emotions. If that happens, it's few and far between, because I've never heard of it. So, I feel that with his father, they didn't prove that he held the gun and shot them, but they proved nobody else could have. I think is my point with the whole trial of his father.
Did you ever spend much time at the kennels and so forth yourself? And when you came down there, did you ever feed the dogs or go into those areas?
No, I would let I would go down there sometimes. If my girlfriend stayed in Moselle, she's real fond of animals and stuff. She'd like to go look at the chickens and whatever, and I'd go let my dog out for a little while and stuff like that. And I'd hang around the shed too, working on little things and stuff. So I spent a fair amount of time down there as well.
Let me ask you this: do you ever have any issues?
No offense, rapper. Like, I'm reading one of your comments and you're like, yeah, Jen, yes, I've been behaving. Why do you have to say that you've been behaving? Because you're always into the shenanigans, son. You know what? Just be nice, okay? And it is Pink's birthday. And if you and Pink don't like each other, just block each other so you don't have to see each other's comments. But remember, let's not take this stuff here on YouTube this seriously. Whatever's going on between you and Pink, do the right thing, be the better person, just stop. This world is crazy enough. We don't need to be contributing to it. You know that, Rapper, as well as I do. So just, we want you here. If we didn't want you here, we would have blocked you by now. So just be kind to people, okay? And I'm not saying you did anything wrong this time, but you know what? Females have hurt feelings. So when you hurt a female's feelings, she gets hurt. And then when you come in here, and even if you're trying to be nice to her, unless you said, I'm sorry for what you did, even if you guys want to fight another time, if you did something wrong, say you're sorry for it. So happy birthday, Pink. Rapper, be nice. We love you too, even though you're like the little pain in the ass little sister or brother. I tried to call you a little sister. I'm sorry. I promise that wasn't. I know. I haven't seen anything personally. I know. I kind of come into this stuff like halfway through, but still, it's her birthday. Just say I'm sorry. Give her a freaking birthday present. Okay? Pink, he's sorry. Now you guys stop and start. Problem solved. Now you and Pink can be BFFs. Be nice to each other. Even when you're away from the Bullhorn Betty channel, okay? Just show some love, guys. Show some love. It's not Rapper. He didn't do anything. I know. Everybody's telling me you didn't do anything, Rapper. So thank you for not doing anything. You do so much shenanigans. Nobody believes it. We got to have some receipts up in here to make sure it's not your fault. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. We love you. It's just, you didn't do anything wrong. We thank you. And see, it wasn't that bad. You're good. You're good. See, you're good. All right. So, but it is Pink's birthday. So be nice to her today and tell her happy birthday. Just be nice. People, just be nice. Not that hard. We have one rule. So far, no, it doesn't seem like anybody's breaking it. So thank you guys for making the chat nice.
Like say somebody's out there firing a weapon or something like that. Anybody ever accidentally shoot any of those buildings in the past or something like that? Let a round off or accidentally put one through a wall somewhere? Or
Any of
like
the shed buildings?
Yeah, any of the buildings out there.
Never that I was aware of.
Anybody? Was it uncommon for anybody to shoot out like in the yard, so forth? I mean, like just out there on the property. I know that obviously they were shooting for hunting and stuff, but out there in the grounds. I mean, was it
like around the area of the shed?
Around the area of the shed, around the house, around the processing area, any of those areas? I mean,
by the house we'd do it like that's kind of where we did our skeet shooting.
Okay,
it was over there by the house, but no, we didn't fire many. I mean, I never shot anything real close to the shed or anything like that. It was more ever if you're going to try to shoot an animal or something somewhere else.
I should read these things before I post them, huh?
Give me a moment, just so I don't digress too much. I just want to a couple of things here. You've been staying down here since?
Yes, sir. I've been here since Monday, or I guess early Tuesday morning.
You haven't gone back up? Huh?
No, sir.
Girlfriend been down here the whole time?
She has.
Katie, while I'm looking at my notes, if you got something you want to talk about, go ahead.
Buster, what do you think? What do you make of all this? Like,
what do you mean? What do I make of all this?
Of all this with your mom and your brother? Do you think maybe someone was after your brother and your mom happened to be down there? Like what is...
I would say if I had to have a take, that's probably what it would be. Yeah. I think that someone was probably trying to kill my brother, that my mom was probably just there.
Do you think that was because of the boat?
Oh, wow. So, at the time, Buster believed that somebody was down there to take out his brother, and his mother was just there, wrong place, wrong time. Wrong place, wrong time for mom. Somebody was there to get his brother. Interesting. Interesting, because, I mean, up to this point, he doesn't really know anybody's last names. He seems like he's fairly removed from the family. I mean, he still does things with the family, not removed like he doesn't want anything to do with his family. What I mean by that is, like, vicinity-wise, he's nowhere near his family. He's in Colombia. He's removed. It doesn't seem like he comes home for some family functions, but doesn't really know what's going on in his brother's life. You know, he has conversations with mom and dad daily, but, you know, just is kind of disconnected from the comings and goings of the Moselle property, or really anything to do with the family while he's at school, which is typical. I mean, college students, university students, we're dealing with the Idaho 4 right now. You know, they have a way of doing their own thing when they get to a university. So I'm not going to, you know, allege one way or another. It's a double-edged sword here. But it just seems like he's been not so uncooperative like Nick Houck, you know, how he was just ultra uncooperative. He's been very cooperative. But some of the details he just doesn't know. And I truly don't think he knows, you know, like the last names. I think it just shows how disconnected he is from the comings and goings of the Moselle property. I really do. He seems to, in my opinion, we believe he lied, because one of the things that they asked him in this interview was there any kind of internal family problem. And he basically said, no, there's no internal family problem. We know that to be a flat out lie. We know that there was an internal family problem going on behind the scenes because Alec was on drugs. He was on narcotics, and he was using an excessive amount of them. And Paul was the little detective of the family, and he was the one that spied, so to speak, on his dad. So this idea that there was no internal turmoil. I don't know how many of your children are little detectives in your home for your spouse, but I have never heard that terminology. Not that it doesn't exist. I know there's probably many people that understood that specifically, but I don't know how many times I've actually heard a family refer to one of their children as the little detective for the mom to find out if the dad's utilizing prescription narcotics. It just seems a little odd to me. It just seems a little odd, is all I'm going to say. It's just my observation. Satisfying myself. Exactly. But it does show you that there was an internal turmoil between the family that Buster completely knew about and totally avoided saying. You know, it wasn't that he lied about it. He just never brought it up when asked. And to me, that's still a lie.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sorry for asking that, but
okay.
You know, y'all knew
I'm
that
sure
better
you thought
than
of little
anybody.
else. I mean, to some degree. Is there any other possibilities you've considered?
No, sir.
No other possibility. Just somebody wanted to kill his brother and got his mom too.
I want to ask you about something, and I want to preface this by saying this is based purely on rumor, and it's not something we're investigating as an agency, but it's the incident with the Smith family.
Oh, wow. They're asking about the Smith family.
I am.
Say it again, please. I missed
The
that.
Smith family.
Okay, guys. They're going to be asking him about the Smith family. This is interesting. This is going to be interesting. So let's listen.
The boy that
Right, I
got
got it. I knew it is.
Has anything about that incident come into play in terms of threats, in terms of your thoughts on this incident, in terms of in any faction? Is there any part of that, rumors you've heard, accusations, any threats you've had related to that?
No, sir.
Is there anything you want to elaborate on that? I mean, has anyone ever questioned you about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've read the articles and the rumors and saying that, you know, I've had people understand to think that that's what I did, and I've had people message me and stuff and call me a piece of shit and a murderer and a faggot and things like that. But I've never received a what you call it, a formal threat, and I haven't heard a lot about it in a while either.
It's pretty much died off.
I would say that, yes.
When you say message, I mean, it's like social media messaging, or
yeah, this would be Facebook, and Facebook. I think I got a couple off of Instagram as well.
Did you receive any of those kind of messages after the boat incident?
I did. Very similar, but again, never a formal threat.
Anyone you ever recognized?
No, sir. Never anybody that I knew who they were.
Did you ever do any kind of looking to see if there was somebody who might have at least been, nothing else, geographically able to carry out a threat or something like that? Or
I
ever
did.
look into who it was?
I did, and I didn't take much away from it. I figured the people just saying stuff.
Have you saved any of that stuff? Screenshotted any of it?
I haven't saved any of it. It might still be in the, in the far lowers of my messages, but actually, to be honest with you, I think I probably deleted some of it too because I just didn't enjoy looking at it.
As when we conclude here today, what I might ask as you go forward is, fun as it might be, is that maybe you go back and see what might be there, and maybe see about screenshotting that and providing it to us. On the off chance that a name might pop up that might be useful to us down the road.
Yes, sir.
I'd encourage you to do that.
Charles, let me add, I have been involved with the family.
This is the attorney now speaking. This, again, Buster has an attorney in the car with him when he's giving this interview. And this attorney is now speaking.
Primarily just trying to keep Alex straight up since the boat. There was a time there, about a week, 10-day, 2-week period, where the line between the boat and the Smith thing really got blurred and all mixed up in social media. But then that sort of calmed down. But there was a period of time, and there was several weeks after, where people were associating one with the other, and just
that's an important distinction to make, Buster. As we sit here, that you certainly have a family resemblance to your brother, and while I'm certainly not saying this was the case, I mean, if someone were angry about the Smith case, is it conceivable they could have found out about your property, come out looking for you, and some kind of scenario like that? I'm not saying that. I certainly don't want to give you any kind of bad feelings, but it's a possibility, like all the possibilities you talk about, that we have to consider. So that's why.
No, that's not true. That's a different one.
Specific people you were concerned about along that avenue?
No, sir. I wouldn't say I had any concerns about that.
Okay. Is there anything I haven't asked you about you expect me to ask you about?
No, sir.
I mean, you feel like we've gone over everything you expected to talk about, or have you talked about everything that might be helpful to us as far as you know?
Yes, sir. You got everything that I know about anything that's happened.
How has your father been with all this? Is he?
He's been.
I don't mean since the death of your brother, but I mean with all the other drama that's leading up to this and all the other stress and so forth. I mean, has he taken it okay? Is it been a problem?
No, I say if anything, he's taking it okay. I mean, we're obviously all upset and we're all frustrated about how people say things and turn things into what they.
So 3 days after his mother, let me put this in perspective. 3 days after his mother and his brother are executed, this young man is more concerned about what people are saying than dealing with his family problems. I guess it's because I'm not in that situation, and that I'm a social media person and would be on social media a lot. And I keep trying to think, if something majorly happened in my family, I might do like a little video letting you know that something majorly is happening in my family and I can't go live. But I don't foresee myself going on and reading comments this early into the investigation. Maybe I would, especially in a murder. Maybe I guess it really depends on the situation, but I don't know. It seems like he's ultra concerned about what people are thinking at a time when he should be worrying about his family. But that's another observation, a weird observation I'm seeing.
Turned him into, but as far as he's he was kind of the I guess the platform is always the one telling us not to worry about it, but always kind of the anchor and keeping everything straight and everything like that.
Give me just a moment. See, I know I've been kind of all over the map. I want to make sure I did not come back to something that I told you I would come back to. Has anyone given you information about what happened or what they think happened? Has anyone talked to you about what occurred that night, or
as far as like speculative
or actual? Has anyone giving you anything that they know that you think we might not know, or that?
No, I mean the only thing that I understand is I understand what happened that night, and that's pretty much where my information ends, because I know what happened.
Would you tell me in your words what happened?
Well, from the way that I understand it is that my mom and my brother were down at the kennels, and that from what it seems to me is the two people came up and somehow got on top of them and shot him dead.
How would he have information that two people came up upon them 3 days after this this attack, that two people came up upon his mother and his father, or mother and brother, and killed them? Where did he? This is the first time that we're ever hearing about two people being involved, and it's 3 days after this event happened, and it's 3 days after this event happened, and his father didn't even say anything about two people. Who put two people in this young man's mind? How did he get that information only 3 days after this? I doubt law enforcement is alleging at this point that there's potentially two shooters. So somebody is directing these thoughts in this young man's head. Who gave him that information? Because that's exactly what somebody wanted people to believe. And I am going to go out on a limb here. This is not factual information. I have a funny feeling it was Daddy Dearest that put this in his head for some reason. I could be wrong. Might have been good old Uncle Randy, huh? But I bet you it was a Murdaugh.
What makes you say that it was two people?
I read an article that stated two guns.
He's saying he read it in an article that there was two guns. That's still a big leap to go with two guns, though. And to make that leap that there must have, I don't know. We'll listen. We'll keep listening. I'll shut up.
That's what you base that on?
It is.
Have you been down to that area since?
I have not.
You haven't been anywhere near the kennels or the building?
No, sir.
Because my next question was going to be, having been down there, is there anything that you, with your knowledge of the property, have noticed that was unusual or
I
out of place?
I haven't gone down there.
Okay, I understand.
We already had permission from everybody to go back up to the house before Buster got home.
Yeah.
And we were already back up in the house.
Is there anything different or odd about the house that you've noticed, or anything that may look at a place like if somebody came into the house while your dad was gone, or maybe your mom and brother were at the kennels? Have you noticed anything like that?
No, nothing's different like that.
Okay.
past, you said the last time you think you spoke to Paul was last time he was going to come into the game. Is that?
Yes, sir.
You didn't have any other text messages or anything leading up to that?
No, sir.
This time, or internet messages? All right, well, one thing I need to do, and we're asking this of everybody today, is as you know, we've collected a lot of evidence down there at the scene. And because it's a family property that people have frequented here and there, as we gather evidence and we get things like DNA, we need to get elimination samples from the family members here. And the reason why is that if we run something and it comes back unknown person, we have to find out who that unknown person is. If it comes back to a family member, I'm going to expect to some degree that family member DNA is going to be in common areas. Something in the dog kennel, something on a shared weapon that people touch, something in a vehicle people drove. So what I'd like to do while we're here today is get what's called a buckle swab from you. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
It's a long cotton swab. I've got them in the back. And what I'll do is I'll just rub the inner side of your cheeks. We'll put it in a bag, and it'll get sent up and run as comparison evidence for everybody. And do you have any problems submitting to that?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I'll wrap up there. Katie, what am I missing out on here? I'm sure Buster does not want to sit through another however long we've been talking interview if he can help it.
No, I think we pretty much covered everything.
Having said that, I will give you the caveat of I'm sure I'm going to get out of here and remember that I didn't ask you something. And to that same degree, that's why I gave you my card. If you get out of here and think I should have told that agent this thing, please call me. Let me know. I'll be happy to sit down with you whenever you want to.
Yes, sir.
Our goal in this is to get to the bottom of this. It's all it absolutely deserves to be done. So,
yes, sir.
Anything, Danny? Have you got anything you want to ask us? Or
You've been thorough, very courteous.
you have any questions for us about this? I don't know how much I can really elaborate on.
Yes, we have a lot of questions, but if there's going to be some elaboration, I think we would prefer it in a group setting.
Understand.
And to the extent that y'all will,
Yes,
we are. There's so many rumors, and I don't know how else to say it. We're starving for something that just.
Yes, sir, we understand.
Well, and we're certainly eager for anything, and anything.
You have not missed anything that I have heard or that I have anywhere in the public or even within our firm privately. You have covered all the bases, and if there was something that was significant that I knew about that you haven't asked about, I would tell you. But
there's nobody that knows your family as well as you and your other family members, and a lot of that stuff isn't always public. A lot of it isn't always easy to talk about, and I want you to think hard about that. And if you do have something, no matter how trivial, no matter how inconsequential, I asked you a lot of things that were seemingly inconsequential today, but there's a reason for that, because as a question comes up, if I've already got the answer, I don't necessarily have to do something.
I understand.
Yeah, I know you would.
We don't want to waste too much time going down the wrong road either. So
and we understand y'all got an investigation to do. We're not trying to impede that or ask you to give us any special favors, but just anything y'all could share. You don't need to share it just with the family, or share it just with Ellie.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it to a crowd. No,
Yes.
Ellie.
What I can tell you
Ellie
just short
is
term,
really-
and we'll get into that, but I can tell you that we have been working nonstop on this. We are considering every single possibility, every aspect of it. And as these things are coming up, and we're sending people to track down leads and run them down, and just like in every investigation, you get something. A lot of times you follow up on it, it doesn't necessarily pan out to be something, but it doesn't mean we don't look into it.
We jumped off a bridge for 2 hours Tuesday night. Remember all that? You heard that?
Yeah, I did hear that. And I have seen some stuff, and I've seen stuff that was attributed to law enforcement that is absolutely false.
Well, yeah,
That is absolutely speculation. That is absolutely wrong.
And we're grateful for y'all being upfront with Alec about that.
Yeah, I can't prevent it if either somebody makes a comment to somebody who doesn't have the same.
It's interesting that they brought up a conversation that somebody said, and a law enforcement had leaked some information. It sounds, and they're saying that it even comes, but it's rumor, and I don't know if something got out that shouldn't have gotten out, and they're kind of walking it back a little bit. but I don't typically know of law enforcement. I mean, I know they have leaks and they talk to people they trust that they know will protect them if they leak information. But in this situation, for some reason, you know, this is a small community. Everybody knows everybody, and people are, you know, you only have so many agents that can work the case. So you're going to have somebody that knows something or has knows somebody that knows somebody. You know, it's just going to be a situation like that, in my opinion. And I just found it awfully odd that he's addressing something that was rumored by their own law enforcement agent.
The other comment that's been extremely troubling, and I'll just tell you that we talked about it and been concerned about it, is there was a statement from either SLED or from the sheriff's office. I apologize, I'm not being coy. I don't remember which. That there was no reason for the public to be concerned.
Well, that's probably and that might have been poor choice of wording. I'm not going to sit there and say yes. That was from the sheriff's office.
And that all that does.
I was the sheriff of Colleton County for 14 months. I was the interim sheriff during that period.
You know where that makes people's mind go.
I think that's a very common phrase they use to mean we're not actively running behind somebody with a gun right now. That we're going to chase them into your house, or we need to lock the school down or something like that. It's probably not the best choice of words. And unfortunately, what happens is people fill in the blanks and say, well, this was obviously some sort of a domestic thing or something like that. I get where you're coming from. And there's things we can control. There's things we have to go back and say, well, I get it. The more we harp on this, the worse we're going to make it a thing.
Buster, you got anything else, man? Please, if you've been completely forthright. If you've got anything else to tell these folks, let's go ahead and anything else you can think of.
No, sir, I'm good.
Buster, is there anything you want to ask us?
No, ma'am.
No questions.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you'll step out, I will get the buckle swab thing ready. It's not painful. You ain't got any sores or anything in your mouth, any bites inside of your lip recently, nothing like that. It'll be over.
I don't know what that would mean. I mean, he'd get actual blood if he bit his lip. All right, let's see if they get back in the car. Oh, no, they got, okay. They're about to go outside the car.
Highway patrol on me.
Yeah, we'll clarify the fake ID comments. It was Paul that used his ID, Buster's ID, to purchase. Buster was not with Paul. No, Murdaugh, from my understanding, was with Paul the night of the boat wreck. They're disciplined. They're just disciplined to be perfect in the public and be heathens behind the scenes. You know, they didn't really have a whole lot of, you know, the parents didn't really care what they did, it seemed like. I could be wrong, but it just seemed to be that way.
Yes, sir. Doing all right? Yes, sir. How about you? Nice to see you. Yes, sir. I hate that it's under these circumstances.
Is that Alec Murdaugh going up there to shake the officer's hands? Is that is not Alec. Tell me that's not Alec. Was that Alec? It sure is. Look at that. Right there on the heels of his son. Interesting. Right there on the heel of his son, making sure his son did a great job. But hey, you know what? Buster wasn't coached at all, was he? That was awfully interesting, just to pop up and want to be the upstanding member of society and go up and thank the officers for doing such an outstanding job on his case, for his wife and son, from the monsters and the animals that did this. And meanwhile, we got the perfect shot of the monster responsible. Interesting.
Yes, sir. Doing all right? Yes, sir. How about you? Nice to see you. Yes, sir. I hate that it's under these circumstances. Yes, sir. That's me. The red hair gives me away.
Right, that's right.
That's something y'all look for in this family.
That's
We kind of
right.
match.
Right on the heels of his son. Wow.
You can see.
I do.
I'll tell you what, rather than do a written one,
Going over there to rub him down after a job well done. Relax, son. You did a good job. Relax. Here, let me loosen up these muscles for you, son.
It is.
Okay. What I'm going to do is we discussed. I'm just going to swab at your inner cheeks for a DNA sample for a buccal swab, as we talked about. You consent to us.
How can a father, and his father's turning away right now to walk away because he can't even stand to look at the sight of what he caused?
That.
What a piece of shit.
And Mr. Henderson, you're fine with it as well?
Absolutely. Okay. This is approximately 3:25 p.m. on June 10th. Let's get out of the sun. Absolutely.
You're good. Go ahead and you can walk up there. I'm going to shut this door and give y'all some room.
All right, you go open wide.
So he's marking the evidence. Does anybody else find it a little bizarre that his dad was on his heels when he walked out, but as soon as he has to look at his son going through, basically, I'm going to call it like a medical procedure, right? It's taking biological materials from him for testing. So, and then his father, as soon as he's looking at his son and his son, you can see his face on him. Where are we? We're at 131:22. Let me go back here to his face, his son's face. Doesn't look very happy, looks a little terrified here, right? He looks a little terrified here. And his dad decides to run or, come up to him and give him some comfort. But as soon as his father, and you almost see, I'm going to turn the volume off because I'm going to talk through this. And you see him talking and you see his father, and his father's looking at him as they're explaining what they're about to do. And his father turns around. His father's so disgusted that he walks away. He literally walks away, and you can see almost the disgust on his face here. So again, I just have, there was a lot of red flags that we were not, because we didn't see this at the time, that I would have picked up on, or cues that I would have seen related to this. And probably why they didn't release it sooner.
Anything else you can think of? I feel like I've asked you most anything, but again, as you go home, start thinking about this. Any good information you guys can get us, and I have to it might help us. Okay? All right. Hands might be a little bit sweaty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Phone?
Buster, if you will hold on just one second. One more thing.
Alec, always, that's Buster. I was going to say Alec always in the bushes.
You want to walk over there? I think it's shadier right there.
Would you have any objection? Yeah, Dan. Sorry, I wouldn't shut you out there. No problem. Some of the others have been good enough to give us just dumps of their calls. It's a physical download of the information on their phone that verifies the whereabouts and so forth statements you've given us.
And we may be able to pull some of those Facebook messages that you've gotten to.
My only question is, did Jim allow that to happen with Alex?
My understanding,
If that's the case, certainly yes, but that would.
Do you want me to ask?
Yeah, let's ask that, please.
That's why I asked.
Because I am out of my element.
I understand.
I'm out of my element. That's why I want to put it.
That's why Dick and Jim came into the picture, because this attorney from my understanding, he was the attorney that they used for I can't even remember, like property or something. He's like a civil guy. I don't think he's not a criminal guy. And he was just filling in on short notice just so they had some representation, from my understanding. But clearly this officer or this attorney is out of his element and saying, hey, I'm out of my element. I want to dot my I's and cross my T's here. So we got some problems even with this attorney, but they can't really interfere with an interrogation. They can be there and some things, but not too much.
Jim is okay with Alex, and we are absolutely.
He has this thing completed.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yes, sir.
What we're trying to do. I've got your phone on.
I wish that lady would quit moving the freaking camera.
It's a good way to shut down the ugly people. We have the stuff right here, so we'll be able to do it and get it right back to you.
You can download it.
Yes, sir.
You can send us doing a data download of this. We'll do it. We've got a technician out here with us. We'll get it right back to you. Yes, sir.
So we got about another minute and a half.
What's that?
Thanks, Kyle.
Y'all need that?
Let me, Jojo. John Marvin and I were talking earlier, and he mentioned that I guess the solicitor was supposed to call me about something to do with the truck keys to.
And I don't know
that white
you'd already
F-250.
left, but it was Sean and.
Y'all ask Buster about Paul's passcode.
Sean's been going.
Yeah.
But Sean.
Do you happen to know Paul's passcode to his phone?
I do not.
Okay. If you had to guess.
I couldn't guess. Somebody asked me this the other day, and I thought about it, and I got no understanding of where to go with it.
Okay.
He treated it like.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I know my mom.
Yeah.
Do you mind calling the solicitor?
Gotcha.
I mean, you don't need to call him. I got the keys.
Well, I don't know if I'm necessarily.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he communicated that to me very well. So.
We've got a few more seconds. 17 more seconds.
Yes, sir. We'll give it to him.
Thank you so much. Yes.
All right, that's it. That's it. All right. So give you guys selves a round of applause. We survived the interview. Couple things that I think we've all discussed in chat. We've all noticed. I think the one major thing is the lack of emotion. And, now that I'm reading some of your comments on being prepped can help reduce some of those emotions. So that could play into it. When I saw him get out of the car, you can kind of see, when you had that further away view, you could see more of his disappointment on his face. We were able to see, it seemed like the closer his father got to him, the more I feel like at this point, I feel Buster knows his father did it just by that interaction, that little bit of interaction outside of the vehicle where his father came up and everything. Just by his behavior, it to me appeared that he knew he was covering for someone. I don't think it's uncommon for the Murdaughs to stick together. I think it's kind of bred in their upbringing. I don't know. We don't know. We're all speculating. Our opinion of Buster is speculation. Our opinion of the situation, other than what has come down in a verdict, is our opinion. Everything that we don't know 100% or wasn't provided to the trial record, in all fairness, at this point, we have to take as a rumor, because we're never going to be able to prove it to be true one way or the other. So I was going to go into, I mean, we're at 3 hours and 15 minutes. We were going to get into Buster and his testimony on the stand. I was going to leave you guys here all day. We were going to be here all day to do this. But to be honest with you, I think this was a lot. It's a lot to digest, to understand. And I'm not going to play his testimony on the trial because I forgot it. And I wanted to be real and authentic tomorrow tomorrow morning when we go over this. I am going to provide an update on the Soto case later this afternoon. So if you guys have not subbed up to this channel or our new channel, we've got 2 new channels here. This one here is Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. And we also have another channel that is Bullhorn Betty, Bettie, not Y, IETC for true crime as well. It's got 3 little cat heads on it. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. It's got an orange little icon with 3 cat heads. Go over there and sub up. We're going to be doing until that account gets, I'm running kind of this account and that account with the same content right now, but we're going to pull away from that. And we're going to do something a little different. Nothing bad, but we don't have monetization on that channel. So if we don't have monetization on that channel, we might as well do the things that we can do on a non-monetized channel that we can't do on a monetized channel. So we'll be getting, maybe into more details of some cases. We may decide to just have a fun day and just, play a bunch of copyrighted music, right? Whatever the case may be, we're going to be doing something and pulling that channel out on its own to build up the watch time on that. So expect that to start. I'm going to be throughout this weekend planning on a schedule for next week. So we'll see how that all works out. We're just playing at the beginning of every year. Part of our goals, we play around with times. We play around with a whole bunch of stuff to try to adjust the channel, because every year we're growing and we can't stay in the same position. Otherwise, we're not growing with the channel. And so we have to kind of manipulate the channel a little bit in certain spots to find out where we are best suited for the new year. And that's what we're doing. That's why we push this live back to 7:30. And we're going to do the 7:30 time for the next couple weeks. Maybe for the next month. We'll see where we go. And if this is a better or worse than 6:30, we may go back to 6:30. We may try it at 8:30. We'll see. We're going to play it by ear, but we're not going to go past 8:30. We're going to have a start time for our morning show between 6:30 and 8:30. And it's always been like that since the creation of this channel. This particular show, this first show, has always come in the morning. And no matter what, it's going to stay the morning. We are the coffee club, and we are the coffee club for a reason. So 7:30 is better for you. Okay, great. So again, if you guys like the new time, email me, bullhornbetty@gmail.com, or put a comment in the comment box below. Don't forget to be fearless, folks. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you got something out of this, please consider giving me a thumbs up. This helps this channel grow. This helps this get from its stationary position right now, and it gets in front of more and more people. So again, you don't have to be a Bullhorn Betty fan to enjoy the content that was produced today. So if you did enjoy the content, or you learned something that you didn't know, please consider giving me a thumbs up. And it's also a thumbs up saying thank you to our mods. Our mods, a big hand and a round of applause. I'm going to give you guys the big one. Because they have to field all the nonsense that goes on in the chat while I'm sitting up here doing my thing. They're doing their thing, and they're doing it beautifully with love and kindness in their heart. And so we just want to give them a big round of applause. And I almost forgot, I promised we wouldn't forget the language of letting go. This is a big one. This is going to be a long one, guys. So if you guys would like to stick around for the clear the gunk that we just listened to and to move forward, I haven't read it fully. It's a pretty long one, so bear with me. Actually, let me get my glasses on so I can read to you guys. Right? So I can read to you guys. So for the language of letting go for January 6th, which is this Saturday, the title of it is Take Responsibility for Your Life. Before you can jump out of a plane, before you can fly solo in a plane, before you can go on a whitewater rafting trip, before you can make a bungee jump, you have to sign a waiver. The waiver is a document that says you realize the danger in what you're about to do, that you and you alone have made the decision to participate in the activity, and that you and you alone are responsible for the outcome. You sign away your rights to sue, whine, complain, to do anything except risk your life for a new experience. You sign the waiver to protect others from being liable in case of an accident. I think the waivers are a good reminder that ultimately no one is responsible for my life but me. There is no one to blame, no one to sue, no one to ask for a refund. I make my own decisions and I live with the results of those decisions each and every day, and so do you. It's your life. Sign a waiver saying you take responsibility for it. Set yourself and others free. God, help me understand the inherent power I have. Help me take responsibility for my choices and guide me about what decisions are best for me. Activity. Read the following waiver carefully. Fill in the blanks and be aware of what you're signing. It's your life after all. Take responsibility of what you do and for what you do, rather. Waiver. I understand that during the course of my life, I will be required to make many decisions. As such, where I want to live, whom I want to live with, where I want to work, how much fun I want to have, and how I spend my money and my time, including how much I spend waiting for things to get better and people to change and who I choose to love. Understand that many events that occur will be out of my hands and that there is an inherent danger and risk in all decisions I make. Life and people have no obligation whatsoever to live up to my expectations. I have no obligation to live up to the expectations of anyone else. Life is a high-risk sport, and I may become injured along the way. I agree that all the decisions I make are mine and mine alone, including how I choose to handle the events that are beyond my control. I hereby forfeit my right to recourse as a victim, including my rights to blame, complain, and whine, or hold somebody else responsible for the path I chose to take. I am responsible for my participation or lack of it in my life. And I take complete responsibility for the outcome and consequences of all the decisions I make, understanding that ultimately it is my choice whether I become happy, joyous, and free, or stay miserable and trapped. Although people may voluntarily nurture and love me, I and I alone am responsible for taking care of and loving myself. Sign and date. Sign and date. That is your waiver. Now, guys, go live your life for yourself. You have earned it. You have earned it. You have earned it. Wrong buttons. Time to wake up. All right, guys. So I'll see you. I hope you guys have a wonderful, amazing Saturday. And I hope you go out and rock it out with your coffee beans out. Until next time, please be safe and especially kind to one another. There's enough hate and horrible crap in this world, we do not need to contribute to it. Just be kind to one another. If you're experiencing bullying, we here on the Bullhorn Betty channel say no to any type of bullying, predominantly cyberbullying and cyber harassment. Until next time, take care.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.